Good morning, children. Welcome back to the Devil's Work podcast.
Hey.
I'm Evelyn, and I'm joined by Sideshow and Skeptic.
We out here.
We out here. We always out here.
And we're way out here today.
all the way out. All the way out in Australia. And today we're talking about a little movie called The Loved Ones from 2009, directed by Sean Byrne. And I don't even remember how I saw this thing or where the fuck it came from.
I think I might have seen this on like Amazon Prime way back when it was on, and it was just one of those like random throw on, like, just okay, cool, she's holding a drill, what's this about?
Yeah, it's like it looks like some like trashy prom horror slasher movie with this girl in a pink paper crown with a power drill. Shit
is wild, which I'm staring at right now.
The paper crown cracked me up because the little packaging that they pull it out of, it just implies that like this is just a thing in Australia that like everyone just knows about. Like probably
it's actually an English thing as well. It's like a Christmas thing. You pull a popper and there's a.
That's right.
My friend Adam, who lives in England, sent me one once.
That's so funny.
I think it's Christmas related.
Yeah,
but maybe
I think it is. I think you're right.
Speaking of, you guys got our Christmas episode, but this is being recorded right before, so
yeah.
Merry Crisis, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Crisis. May the demons be with you.
Mostly crust.
Mostly crust.
Yeah,
that's my new one.
I'm realizing I didn't. I'm going to look up real quick here a synopsis so we can explain this.
The synopsis
shortly.
is actually very good for this one.
Are we talking Wikipedia or Letterboxd?
The wiki is not bad. The wiki is actually pretty in-depth.
Okay, I'm going to go to that one then. I'm not typing right now.
Because I watched it this morning, and I wasn't able to like look at the screen for the entire thing. Like I was running around a little bit, so I wasn't as fully attentive as I totally like to be. So afterwards, I just read through to just be like, that was this thing. That was okay. Yeah. And I got most of it. There's like one question that I have that'll come up near the end.
For sure.
It's not a very difficult movie to kind of follow along with.
It's just fun.
It's super fucking fun, man.
It's like the opposite of a lot of the movies that we've watched. Like it's the opposite of the pacing of like They Look Like People, where like after 30 minutes you're like, 5 years have passed. How much movie is left?
So this says the film follows a teenager, Brent, who finds himself at the center of a female classmate Lola's demented party after he declines her offer to attend a school dance, which is pretty much all you need to know.
That's all you should know, walking. And even that, I don't know, that might be too much.
That's the poster
the poster really does give a lot.
At it.
Yeah, it does give a lot away, but still, this shit is so fun, dude.
It manages very well to ride a line, like be as disturbing as it possibly can without ruining the fun of it, because it's like a dark comedy. There's definitely comedy in there, mostly from Lola and her dad.
Yeah, it's like the fucking fourth black comedy that we've covered on the show.
I wrote a note. It's super bad, but with a kidnapping and vehicular homicide. It's
that's amazing.
But that's also the emotional moments are like actually very moving.
Yeah.
So it does both really well.
It's got a really good heart.
Yeah. We got a lot of trigger warnings for sure.
Yeah. Quite a few.
Really, really intense suicidal ideation.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
It's a big theme in the film.
Yeah.
I would say the self-harm goes to self-mutilation levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up good old-fashioned violence, we'll just say.
Yeah.
Could you argue like verging on sexual assault? It gets a little uncomfortable.
It's definitely incestuous. Fucking
at the end, it is like straight up. It's unavoidable. Sexual assault is a huge fucking part of it.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's going to also kind of tie into what we're going to discuss about the movie today, too.
Yeah.
It kind of does bring to a point. So, there's going to be discussion of sexual
There's
assault.
definitely a theme in there.
Yeah.
And then drug use, which is, whatever.
I also did tag there's animal abuse.
Animal abuse. I forgot that.
The
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
I would say too. There's use of the R word, but only once.
It's a hard R in there.
Yeah. It happens.
It does. But just I think we've pretty much covered the bases there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you like prom night,
I'll bring this up because I'm sure I'll forget to bring it up later. But it did remind me. I sent the trailer to you guys of a film back in it was in 2008, maybe 6. I can't remember. It was a film called Otis. And it was just super low budget feel, kind of the same premise, but it's a dude who kidnaps a girl from school, quote unquote, from a high school, but he's not in the high school.
Yeah.
He's some demented older dude.
He just grabs somebody. Yeah.
And how he plays prom at home with
boy.
her. Yeah. So it's this was a lot of
Similar
this was a very familiar setting for me.
Just go pick yourself up a date.
I feel like it's like a case of parallel thought. Because they would have been in development at the same time. That's actually pretty trippy.
Interesting.
It's
you're right. Parallel thinking,
the hive mind is working on similar ideas,
and that was also a black comedy too. That was that was the point of that one. So I felt but in all honesty, I don't think that holds up compared to this one.
This one's a banger
because this one fucking slaps, dude.
There are so many lovely things about it's the plot on a whole it ties up in such a beautiful perfect bow. Everything wraps up really nicely, and there's the main plot and the side plot, and they are very casually separate their own thing, but they complement each other in a really great way. And all the performances are just
so good.
Oh, the casting is amazing. Everyone's so good.
Yeah.
Everything ends up being very tightly wound in a way that you don't expect.
Yeah, but it's not forced.
Yeah, at first I was well, this beginning is kind of hammy and unnecessary. But then as it went on, I was no, okay, I kind of see now why you were laying these breadcrumbs, and maybe the writing could have been stronger. But it's not a bad movie, and those little flaws they're little things. It's not. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it could get nitpicky at that point, but overall, it's a solid fucking movie. It's hilarious. It is really, really fucking funny.
I laughed out loud, and then there were a couple times where I also went oh my god, or what the fuck?
You winced. Yeah, my fuss hard same, bro. that knife.
There's just a delight in it takes its time, and it's and now we're gonna do the next phase, and you're oh, what is the next phase?
Dear God,
it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
I feel like some people might be this is maybe a little tamer than we usually go, but I feel like the implications
even
and the food for thought, which as I say time and time again, that's what I love about horror, is not even what's on the screen, is what I'm left to think about and ruminate about. Is the master Pazuzu? Is this if this was to continue, if we didn't have the rest of the series yet and we just saw it, I'd probably be thinking is the next movie gonna be them, the demons trying to do this on a larger scale? Where is this gonna go? It leaves you with all those thoughts, and this movie very much does the same thing, where a lot as you learn things about this fucking family, you're how long has this been going on for? What is the implication of this? What is
Yeah, I feel the layers getting peeled back slowly, little by little, but the violence, I don't know if the violence ramps up, because it starts pretty goddamn hard. It is That shit is intense pretty fast, but then it's like, but it continues on. It just like the violence never like really lets up once it gets going.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have that balance with the heart of the movie, which is like, it's very legitimately there.
The movie is very comfortable with itself. Mm-hmm. It's like it's not worried about rushing or
that's a great way of putting that.
Yeah.
It just feels very confident.
There's some scenery chewing, definitely from the Stone family more than anyone else. But yeah, like those, like it takes its time with those like atmospheric, like it lets it breathe. It's not it's not rushing through beat, but at the same time, like it's a pretty snappy movie.
I noticed this time that like it has a consistent visual language of characters beholding each other or living a moment in slow motion. The slow motion shots are really beautiful, and they convey like a really deep feeling that one of the characters is having.
Yeah,
it's consistent throughout.
It's so good. Yeah, especially that last shot. Like it would go on. Yeah. That's a fucking shot right there.
Yeah,
it's so good. But yeah, no. If you guys enjoyed that, I think we had to rent this one.
Yeah, this one was on Prime. I couldn't find it anywhere else. I was surprised. I thought it would be on Shudder. I mean, it belongs there.
Right?
It's funny that we all rented it from different sources. I just got it from Apple. I just find it pretty convenient. I just cast it to my TV when I like can't find it on a streamer.
And I watch my shit on my Xbox, so shout out Marketplace.
Hey. You know what? That's one thing that I must say about the jump from PS4 to PS5 is that I wish that we still had movies on the Marketplace. Like Sony kind of did away with that.
Did they?
Yeah, which I find kind of interesting. They did us dirty.
That sucks, bro.
Yeah, that's, my Lord and Savior, the square, the triangle, the circle, and the cross. But that one I didn't like so much, that decision.
That's so good. Anyway, so yeah, if you guys enjoyed the little synopsis there, that thing, you could go into this one pretty blind. Yeah. I mean, even if you're gonna listen along,
don't watch the trailer. It definitely gives away too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
enjoy.
But yeah, just enjoy it, and we're gonna go ahead and kick her off.
Yeah.
Give it to him, Evelyn.
All right, let's go. So the film opens. The credits on black have like car radio like shifting through stations. Channels, and then we open with Brent, who's driving. He's maybe like 16 or something. He's driving with his dad in the Australian countryside, and they're just like jamming and having a good time and just like hanging out, being buddies, and they're sort of like...
It's pretty adorable.
It's really cute.
It's pretty adorable.
Yeah, and they're just like teasing each other. He's like, oh, this car is a piece of shit that his dad has given him to drive, and he's like, I love this car. You were conceived in this car. And he's like, oh, God.
So funny.
Just really classic good dad shit.
Yeah.
And his dad lights up a cigarette, which bothers Brent. He's like sort of disappointed in his dad. And I think he says, like, don't act like, mom isn't doing it too.
Yeah, sneaking the odd one here and there.
Yeah, but there's like a little bit of friction there between them.
Mm-hmm.
And Brent is looking at his dad lighting up the cigarette, and that's when he isn't looking at the road, and his dad says to look out, and there's this person standing in the road who looks like a young man who's shirtless, and he's got blood on his chest, and he looks sort of like a zombie. He's like just kind of standing there staring at the car that's headed right at him. Mm-hmm. And Brent swerves around this guy so to not hit him, and then he runs into a tree, and it cuts to black.
That's such a good cold open.
Yeah, just short, it reminds me of, short and sweet.
It reminds me of like a French movie though, like the way those open, like was just like, everything seems to be going fine for a second, but it's like within like half a millisecond, everything just goes fucking haywire.
They're like, guess what? Life.
It's
fuck you.
It's funny you say that because I feel like also like it's a bug, so I mean, like that is a German car, but France and Germany are very close. I'm sure there's a lot of bugs in France. There's a lot of bugs in French films. There's a lot of waist high hay fields that they drive by in French movies. Like just seriously, like literally in terms of like the aesthetic. Like you're totally right.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Just with the I was also thinking about Martyrs when that happened, was just like the shocking imagery of just like
of someone who's like
bloodied and battered and
who's
in the middle of the fucking
clearly
street.
Escaped from somewhere.
Oh god, I can't wait to get to Martyrs, bro.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be so fun.
Hell yeah. So then it says 6 months later, and it's at the high school. They're getting out for their last day of school, and Brent is hanging out in the hallway by the lockers with his friend Jamie, and you could see that Brent is not doing great. He's like sort of pale and malnourished, and his hair is long and dirty. And Jamie's like, "What are you gonna do for the prom later?" They don't say the word prom. They say after school dance, but we're gonna say prom.
That's funny. I didn't notice that.
They just call it end of school dance.
That's right. Yeah,
which is too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jamie's all excited. He's like, "You are you prepared? Do you have a raincoat?
I
can give you one."
I loved that.
Yeah,
he was like, "It's just gonna expire for me anyway."
Yeah, if I held on to it.
And Brent's just like not. You can tell he's not really feeling it. He's like not. He doesn't give a shit about prom. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I think I'm just gonna smoke and hang out." And Jamie's like, "Smoke and hang out?" And he's like, your girlfriend's out. Her parents are out of town. You gotta do it, man. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then they notice Mia walking towards them. Mia is the goth dream girl.
Yeah, she's an e-girl.
Yeah, she gets the first slow motion shot, I think.
Of course.
Just like a foot to head pan. Or actually, that's a tilt. Sorry, filmmakers. I'm ashamed.
Don't you email us.
They're typing right now.
Yeah.
Put it down. Put it down.
And yeah, she's just like smoking hot emo girl.
God, yeah, like I gotta just say, she's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's absolutely stunning.
And Jamie, he's such good comic relief. This kid really killed
good.
his role. He's just blown away by her. And he decides to go ask her and see how it goes, and you're like, there's no fucking way.
It all happens off camera. I love that.
He chases
so
after
much.
her, and then he comes back into the hallway, and he's like, she said yes.
Yeah, which I thought was hella funny because she heard that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you can just imagine that, like, she's always like, her eyes are like half lidded, and she probably was like, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But she did say yes.
But it also, for the young listeners out there, because I was looking at our demographics, we do have some 18 to 20s in this house.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Children.
For our younger listeners out there, some common wisdom. The prettiest, most gothicest girl at school probably doesn't get asked out much because everyone is intimidated. There's just this interesting, like, paradox that occurs. So he probably just really was the first one to like say anything to her because everyone else is just intimidated.
And that's why he's the best.
Absolutely.
He's like, I'm Ozzy Jonah Hill. What do I have to lose?
That was good.
So then Brent is by himself in the hallway, and this girl appears in a pink shirt and capri pants.
She comes out like a fucking shark, bro.
But she's Gale the snail.
She's so unassuming. This is Lola, looking very timid.
God.
And she's like right there.
And at first it feels like it feels cute.
It's
because there's no really indicator that there's really trouble just yet. Like it just feels like you're just like, aw.
Yeah, and she's like,
you're just like, good for her for trying.
Very cautiously in a very quiet voice, she's like, "Would you go to the dance with me?" And he looks her.
I just did it now.
He looks her in the eye and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm going with Holly." He's like, he has a girlfriend, and he's very nice about it. Yeah, he's just like, "I'm sorry. I mean, if I wasn't going with someone, like, maybe I'd go with you."
My bad, bro.
Yeah. And then he leaves, and she, like, you just see...
She looks shattered.
You can see the hurt,
God.
and she just stands there in the hallway by herself.
That's so sad.
Yeah. And then when he goes outside, Holly, his girlfriend, is waiting for him, and she's just passed her driving test. She's just got her keys, and she's like... She gives him a ride home. She gives him a ride.
She does.
and this is the first time we see his razor blade necklace, and all I can think is like, bro, you're gonna take her nipples off, like you like.
That's exactly what Clifton said. So yeah,
that's a fucking hazard.
Also, I don't know, banging in the car on the side of the street in broad daylight is not really a vibe. It's just not. But maybe the sun never sets in Australia. So they're just in the car banging.
They have two suns, like Tatooine.
And he's like, guess who asked me to prom? And she's like, who? And he won't tell her.
No.
Because he's like teasing her, and then
she
she's
needs
like,
to get played with.
But she like keeps asking the whole time, which is kind of weird, even when they're in the midst of it.
Yeah, but, it was a weird like power sex play thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
it was strange.
Yeah. She's like, tell me. And she takes his shirt off, and she sees that he has this. I don't know if this is like her first time seeing it. He has this razor blade on a chain that he wears around his neck, and he has cut himself on the side of his torso.
You see the self-harm scars.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of cutting, and she's like
brutal too. I feel
it's bad.
I feel like I feel like a lot of people, they're like trying to hide it, or they're trying to find like the like least painful place, or the place that's gonna bleed the least. He just went for like nerve endings and flesh. Like I feel like that would be a very unpleasant place.
Eesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't look fun at all.
He's not having a good time, and of course, Lola is standing there watching them have sex in the car.
When that fucking camera pulled away, or like when that reveal happened, I was like almost fucking spit out my drink. I was like, what?
She's just standing there like, "What's up, Dennis?"
She saw everything. She probably heard everything too.
Heard you guys down at the Wawa.
It totally is her.
So later, Holly drops Brent off at his house. She said she's going to pick him up at 7 for the dance. And there's sort of a little conversation about if his mom will mind. And he says she's just going to have to get used to it.
Yeah.
And which is a nice, like, casual lead into the conversation that he's going to have with his mom.
Yeah,
it was nice.
And,
in terms of, like, dialogue, to see that as opposed to, well, 6 months ago when my father died in that car accident.
Yeah. They just let it come to you in time.
Yeah.
Like, he's in his room by himself. He's like sitting in the dark listening to screamo music and like writing in his journal, and she comes in and she's like, so
I was like, it's not a bad song.
It's a good song. She's like, how are you gonna get to the dance? Like, perfect mom dialogue, like just already you could feel the tension immediately. And he's like, Holly's gonna drive me, and she's like, she doesn't even have her license, and he's like, she got it today. And she's not having it. She's like, I'll give you money for a cab. And he's like, what is the difference? I'm still going to be in a car. Yeah. And they're both just like in so much pain.
They're so ruined.
It's really fucking sad. It's so sad.
You can feel that house has been quiet for the entire 6 months.
It's like you kind of get the feeling that his mom just like lives in a cave, basically. Like
she just sits there and stares into space,
and then gets up to come into the scenes that she's in, but like more so like she's just on a shelf when she's not in the movie.
Jesus, just living life on standby essentially.
I noticed that she's also, they have a lot of shots of her sitting around the house, and she's openly smoking cigarettes, so whatever little game she and her husband were playing about like trying not to smoke, that she's given that up. She just smokes now.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch. Oh wow, yeah, that's a really good catch.
Because nothing matters.
I didn't catch that.
It's interesting too. Before we move on, so when he was with Holly, I wrote, goddamn, you're having sex in high school with your girlfriend, and you're not even gonna like say I love you back.
Yeah.
Oh,
he couldn't do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we forgot to point that
She
one
said,
out.
"I love you," and he just kissed her on the cheek, and then he told her that it was Lola.
Yeah.
He finally told her it was Lola Stone.
And then even then she was just like, what
who
the fuck?
Well,
asked him to the dance, and she's like, "Well, maybe you should go with her."
Yeah.
Maybe she won't mind having an emotional R slur for a boyfriend, which is like not a good way to put it, but you can see how that hurts. How it is ruining all their other relationships in life.
Yeah. And there's no way to know whether he was already with her when this happened, but like maybe I think he's just been.
I think he is, because later when she's at her house, she opens up like a card, and it has Humpty Dumpty on the front, and inside it says, "Thank you for doing what all the king's men couldn't do."
Dude, that was such a good fucking little line. I was like, oh my, I like legitimately got like teared up. I was like, oh my god, that's so.
The film has a lot of sweet moments.
She helped him heal, so I feel like she knew him when that happened. But it's like, and maybe he used to say I love you, but now he can't bring himself to say it because one of the people that he's always said I love you to
isn't there anymore.
Yeah. And
yeah. And so when he's talking to his mom, and she's trying to get him to not get in a car with his girlfriend who just got her license, and she's like, "Well, a cab driver's experienced," and he says the thing, the elephant in the room, which is, and I wasn't, and so Dad died, and then that's the end of the conversation.
Heart wrenching.
It's just
he feels so much guilt.
Yeah, and I mean the grief is like palpable here. It's not like, it doesn't feel like, again, like we were saying, it was forced or nothing. It just feels like, Jesus, like this is just a family that's just shattered.
Yeah,
absolutely broken.
Yeah,
and I mean, how do you come back from that? So like, you can explain a lot of these actions as like, oh, maybe he's kind of being a dick because he's sad, but it's like, no, dude, like you said, like the person he said I love you to every day is not there anymore, and it's like
he has that survivor's remorse.
Exactly. And that's just difficult to fucking to stomach. So I can understand. Like the way that the characters played this and like they played the trauma was very, very fucking
they're
smart.
incredible. They're incredible actors.
Yeah,
like they really are. There's great performances in this movie, like all around.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if this was like their like these. It feels almost like these are their first movies.
Yeah,
like this is like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like it, but it's just like, Jesus Christ, these people are going to go on to do some fucking work.
For sure, it was definitely the director's first feater film, which is really impressive.
Awesome. Fuck yeah!
What's the Australian version of a Mouseketeer? Is it like a little wallaby?
Yeah, probably. So then we cut to Brent. This is another slow-mo shot. Brent is walking on a sidewalk somewhere with his faithful dog in tow, and you're hearing he's listening to some really hard music because he's feeling really bad, and he pulls out his razor blade necklace and he like squeezes it in his hand, and he starts bleeding.
Yeah, that shit is
brutal. He's just cutting his hand. Yeah.
Oof.
He just feels.
And that's another slow-mo shot, right? That one's a really good one.
They do a lot of like starting at the feet and moving up the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they do that, to do like a blood oath in like a Game of Thrones thing, I'm always like, Jesus Christ. I saw an SNL skit recently where like they do that, and one of them is like from a culture that doesn't have blood oaths, so he like rips into his hand and he's just like openly bleeding for the and they're all just like, come on man, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I don't know, I've never done it before.
So good.
Just gash your hand way too hard.
Oh, dude, that's fucking no, but he goes at it pretty fucking.
And there are some great shot, like the various plots, the way the movie jumps from one character to another. Like he's in the middle of having this like horrible moment, and they cut away to his girlfriend Holly at her house. She's like listening to this like gentle song and like putting on perfume and like staring at herself in the mirror. She's
polar opposite of what
she's just thinking about how she'd like things to be with him and how the kind of prom night that she'd like to have. And they cut right back to him and he's just smashing his way
in fucking agony,
climbing up a mountain, and every 10 feet looking back like, should I just dive onto my head?
Yeah, dude.
He's climbing up this very quintessentially Australian cliff, which reminds me a lot of the rocks in Picnic at Hanging Rock. Same sort of formation.
Sounds like that one's coming up soon.
Oh, bro, I love it. It's all about rocks.
And people hanging.
That one's not about family. It's about rocks.
I'm gonna email Total Reboot and be like, come on, let's do Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's definitely like hanging off of it by one hand, toying with
ideation.
What does it feel like to die?
Yeah.
And then he almost actually falls and
gets that wake-up call.
Yeah, he realizes how scary it actually is. And he's like, no, that's not what I want to do. And he climbs all the way to the top with his dog and hangs out. And then they do this cut back and forth between him and his mom. His mom is at home. She's like sitting around waiting for him. She's like thinking about calling him, but she doesn't want to bother him. But she's worried. And he's just like hanging out and smoking and listening to music. And then the dog is barking at something that's approaching. And she goes ahead and calls him, but he doesn't answer because someone comes up behind him and chloroforms him.
Black bagging, bro.
Yeah. And drags him out. And drives off with him.
Trigger warning, man. They hurt the dog.
It kind of reminds me of a Wrong Turn. At that point, just
I haven't seen that.
Interesting. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's
I hear it's really good.
It's like a fairly basic movie, like in terms of like story beats, but it's done well and it's interesting.
That's exactly what I hear about it.
But just in terms of like a guy in like a workman's uniform just gripping you up on like a country road.
Yeah, you can kind of see he has sort of like a tool apron.
Yeah,
but they do a good job of obscuring him.
A little callback to High Tension there, maybe.
And there's some like very effective soundtrack work.
Oh yeah.
And then they cut to Jamie, who is going to pick up Mia for the prom, and he's wearing his beige suit that does not fit him. He's wearing
so funny.
The black.
He's smoking a doobie.
Tux t-shirt. He's putting in like hella breath spray.
At that point, though, he's hitting a roach. Like he's going to town on a roach.
And he's got a bouquet of flowers.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah. And she comes out of her house and she's wearing this like super short goth dress that's
again, like real hot.
It's basically like a nightgown.
Yeah.
She clearly
it's just a slip. Yeah. It's
like
literally.
he's made a really interesting decision for his attire. Like she clearly doesn't give a shit.
No.
She's just wearing what she would be wearing anyway. And he gives her the flowers and she just kind of like stares at them. She's not mean to him, but she's just very like, she doesn't know how to respond to anything. She's just very closed off. And her parents come out, Mr. and Mrs. Valentine. Her dad is a police officer. And they're nice, normal people.
And I noticed that his name tag says F Valentine, which just makes me think Funny Valentine. Like,
nice.
I don't know if that was purposeful. I don't know if we ever hear his name. I assume his name is Frank. He looks like a Frank.
He looks like a Frank. Give me Frank energy.
Everyone calls him Mr. Valentine. No one calls him Officer Valentine, and he is like the most understated, down-to-earth police officer I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
It's barely noticeable that he is a police officer.
It took me like 3 times to notice that he was even a cop. I was like, oh shit.
Look, I made an exception for Kinderman. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it every movie.
No, firmly A
Come on, man.
baby. We know it's A cab.
Mr. Valentine's a sweetheart.
I made an exception.
And so it's very awkward. Like, Mia's just trying to get the fuck out of there, and her parents are like, we want to take a couple pictures with you kids. And she's just standing there, like, waiting for it to end. And the family dog is, like, sniffing Jamie's crotch, and he's like, whoa. And then they head out. This is the side plot that's cooking all night is Jamie and Mia go to prom.
I love this, dude. It's such a good side plot because we were talking about
it's a bit of relief. It has its own emotional
there's an arc
undercurrent, but it's like it gives you a little breather from the chaos of the main.
It's funny too though how like it's pretty comedic, and then when we get to the end, like it kind of twists and you don't expect it, but
it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're at this point now because they're in the car for a second, and then he's like, oh yeah, like I had some weed on me, that's why your dog was like sniffing my nuts. And she's like, okay, let's get high then. And then he goes, I didn't want you to think I have a hygiene problem. And she's like, why, you think I'm gonna suck your dick? And he's just
like, whoa.
It's weird.
That's the super bad. This is the super bad part of this movie.
Yeah, he's clearly a Jonah Hill type. But I must say, I couldn't tell for a while if this movie was pro or anti marijuana, but I think it's pretty fucking anti-weed because the whole thing, like the synopsis of the film says that like
that's exactly what I was
it says that Brent, after killing his father, falls into a marijuana and guilt-ridden world, and the synopsis says that he's like using heavy marijuana use and cutting himself to coke.
So good. Yeah, exactly.
It's weed and cutting.
It's like that's not usually a combination, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
No, like we can assume that if there wasn't weed involved, then he'd probably be dead.
Exactly.
Yeah, because everyone...
you fucking assholes.
Yeah, everyone's getting high, but then like sort of the capper is just like, but just to get away from their problems.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
It's like, whatever, I don't have a problem. It's
it takes all your nightmare feelings and turns them into good feelings.
So Brent's mom knows where he hangs out, and she goes looking by the cliffs, and she's like, Brent, you're going to be late, and he's not there. And so she goes back to the house just when Holly is showing up to pick him up, and they both realize that neither of them has seen him in hours, and the panic starts to rise. Meanwhile, the car that he was shoved into is stopping off at a chicken place.
Doesn't it stop for the roadkill first?
Later on.
Oh, excuse me.
Stops to get some fried chicken, for later, for prom night.
As you do.
Yeah, and then Holly and Brent's mom decide to call Officer Valentine when Brent's dog shows up back at the house, and he's been gravely injured. He's bleeding from his head, and he's crawling along and whimpering.
Poor thing.
And Mr. Valentine is like initially not concerned. He's like, I mean, he'll turn up, he's a troubled kid. And then he's like, what do you mean they stabbed the dog?
No.
And then we get this heartbreaking scene where Holly is driving the dog as fast as she can to, an emergency vet, and he's breathing his last breaths, and she stops the car as she realizes that he's passed away. And she's just, it's like worst night ever.
Heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
But I also, I wanted to point out the whole thing about the mom seems now like more protective of the son because he's like obviously all she's got, but like she seems like a high-strung sort of paranoid person now at this point.
All her fears are confirmed.
Exactly. And it's like as a parent, you can only imagine all of your worst fears being confirmed, but not knowing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
this is new territory. Like she was afraid, like her big fear since the car accident has been car accident.
Safety. Like, yeah, exactly.
And now something else is going on. And she probably knows that her son is suicidal, so she's not really sure what this is.
Yeah.
But then the dog, and now she's like, did somebody take my son?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
the fuck is going on?
Ugh.
Yeah, I think
so scary.
I think that was a good point about like the fear you know and the fear you don't know. And like you said, being so dead set that it's gonna be this thing, but now that it's something like you're trying to mentally prepare for what if another car accident
like this I can comprehend. Right. What the fuck is this?
What is going on?
Yeah, you're like so focused on this you don't even consider, you know? So it's like, that's...
You get blindsided.
Yeah.
Because how could you imagine something so fucking heinous?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah.
Like, this is just
it's the perfect crime.
Yeah, exactly. It's so like out of left field and like not knowing much, because I think when I did initially watch it, it was just on a blind watch and I literally just saw the poster, popped it in. I was like, oh, okay, this is what it's gonna be. But not knowing to what extent this shit was gonna go, I was like, whoa,
yeah,
this goes some fucking dark places, man.
Then we get a little cut back to Jamie and Mia have arrived at the school dance, and he like gets right out of the car and he like tries to slide across the hood of the car and he just falls on the ground.
So good.
But he gets up and he opens her door. He's like, "Milady," and she does not get out of the car. She does not want to go into the dance. And this is the slow unfolding of them getting to know each other.
Yeah, this is adorable.
It's so cute.
I had post when I was watching this. I was like watching it. I was like, man, it was literally just my first date with my girlfriend.
Tux t-shirt and all.
So
you gotta impress the terrifying rare bird that is a goth chick.
Yep. You gotta.
Have you ever seen that the meme of two parrots in a hallway?
No.
There's a little scared, crunched down white parrot that says me, and then there's this like super scary, like all its feathers up on end, big black parrot, and it's like, hot goth chick I'm trying to talk to. It's like that.
So good, dude.
It's amazing.
That is funny right there. I do not care who you are.
We can all relate to that. So this is where the kidnapper's car stops to pick up some kind of roadkill, large dead Australian rodent. I think it's a possum. Yeah,
I'm not even sure, man. That fucker was huge, though.
Somebody leans out of the car to pick it up for reasons unclear.
Yeah.
And there's this super scary song going on, I think by an artist called Pookie Spooky.
It's amazing.
Kooky Spooky.
And we end up at this rural country house in the middle of nowhere, and it's night by now. And they open up the back of the truck bed, and we see that the kidnappers are Lola Stone, none other, and her father, Eric, who is referred to in the credits as Daddy, but his name happens to be Eric. She calls him Daddy.
I'm not calling him Daddy.
And their dynamic is amazing. The way they ride a line the whole time is just incredible, because some of the time it's very father-daughter, you know, she's just like a little girl.
And other times it's not.
And other times it's not like that. So
I don't like those other times.
He has obtained Brent for her.
Yeah.
And
I don't like those other times.
They uncover the tarp in the back of the truck, and he's laying there, and she's like, is he dead? You've ruined it. She's like, oh no, you killed him. And then he's like, no, he's got a heartbeat. And she's listening to his chest, and she goes, boom, 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 boom. And the bullshit begins.
Yeah.
We enter the fucked up world of Lola Stone.
She's fucking twisted, to say the least.
Yeah. And this is like 15 minutes in?
Pretty
like
fast
fucking,
it goes.
Yeah, it was like, this shit gets started quick.
And we get a little context for Lola. We get this collection of shots of her room. She's got a lot of pink stuff in her room. She's sort of like stunted at this little girl mentality.
That's interesting. That's a good catch, because I didn't like stop to consider that. I was more just taken aback by like the Barbie orgy that she has going on.
She's arranged all her dolls in sexual positions, but she has this very like childish way of drawing, or maybe those are the older drawings in her scrapbook.
No, I would think she's also doing the drawings over the pictures and shit too. So
she's obsessed with like
Great
prints, finding your prints type stuff. And she's like sitting on the floor of her room drawing in this scrapbook, and she's drawing a red circle on a picture of Brent on his forehead and like glue sticking it into the scrapbook. And this song is just, it's her theme song.
Is so
it's just
annoying,
so
bro.
Lame. It's just like, am I not pretty enough? And
I think that's literally.
Do I talk too much?
I think that's literally the name of the song.
Yeah. It's just like a bunch of questions of like, how can I make you notice me? And you could be my boyfriend. And
wouldn't it be a shame if I didn't do everything I could to uphold the patriarchy?
Yeah, she just has probably been listening to this song for way too long. She's almost 18.
Oh no, what if I was a fully formed person? Like,
it's pretty gross and weird, and then it gets worse.
Then it goes way off the fucking rails.
Her dad
you have to assume
comes in.
the dad infantilizes the shit out of her, like
constantly.
constantly.
He calls her princess.
He calls her princess and shit.
And she's so good, and he's good.
Fucking chilling, bro.
You call some of their dynamic from long range.
Range. It comes in immediately. He's bought her a dress, and he presents the bag to her, and she pulls it out. It's like a hot pink dress made of some kind of weird shiny fabric, and he like respectfully turns to leave the room, and she's like, no, wait, I want to try it on. You gotta show me what it looks like. And she just gets out of her clothes. She's like changing in her bra and underwear. And he's like, just like these slow shots. He's like watching her butt go into the dress. And he's watching.
He's fondling her with his eyes.
He's watching way too much and way too closely. And he like looks like he feels guilty about it. He's just like, oh no, these feelings I'm having.
But in the way where the guilt is definitely like a nice layer to it for him. Like,
it's like really working for him.
He's like, I feel so bad about this.
The keyword here being naughty.
He has such a good like the micro expressions on his face are amazing. It's like an incredible performance.
It takes a brave man to play a role like that. In all honesty, like people who are willing to be villains is one thing, but willing to be this guy, like that takes props, like that deserves props, and also the performance is absolutely fantastic.
It's perfection.
It's legitimately good. I was fucking I didn't want to watch. I was like, this is disgusting, man. I don't like this.
The Lola and her dad would be such a good Halloween costume.
that would be so funny. We keep talking about memes on this episode, but you know that anime Demon Slayer? So the two main characters are brother and sister, and there's like a cosplay couple that like did them like the sexy version, and they're like hanging all over each other, and like everyone's like, bro, did you not read the
what are you doing? Yeah, well, Halloween's all about taking something and making it sexy, so dial it sexy up to 11.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and this is where the fun really begins.
Yeah.
Because
kick it the fuck off.
This is when Brent wakes up and realizes where he is and what's going on. He's tied to a chair in this the house is room. It's basically like the house has one big main room. It's like a kitchen/living room.
It's like a studio.
It's a very odd house. I feel like this is not a kind of house that exists here. It's more like an Australian house.
It's a double wide trailer is what it is. I wasn't even thinking.
Is it a trailer?
Yeah. It is a trailer. That's right. Yeah, because when he chases them around, we're jumping ahead, but like after when he goes out, they show from the outside it is a double wide trailer. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It feels very very spacious inside.
Yeah,
because it's one big room. And they're sitting at the kitchen table, which is it's a very modest household. And this room has a big disco ball in the middle of the ceiling.
God, that shit.
So there's like a big banner that says "Happy End of School Dance," and the disco ball is going. And there's balloons all over the floor.
It's so weird.
And Brent has been put into a tux. He was not wearing. He's just wearing regular clothes before. So like he's been dressed in a tux.
I wrote here like it's
right.
always funny. Well, not funny, but like it's always weird when someone is like unconscious and then put into new clothes. Like on a logical level, it's like damn, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's really hard to. Yeah, it doesn't never work quite right. If you woke up that way, you'd be like, "Why are these all in the wrong place?"
Have you ever?
You can't put glasses on another person and have them sit right.
Yeah, right.
Like I feel like for like couples where like the guy drinks, like Evelyn, have you ever had to like get somebody out of their clothes at the end of it so they can like
like you gotta not be sleeping in pants, dude. This isn't gonna work out.
Yeah, like you're just gonna wake up and everything's gonna be worse than it is now, and it sucks now.
Worse.
You just gotta start over.
like that. Even that sucks. Imagine getting the clothes back on now.
Impossible.
And they're dress clothes. You have to tuck in the shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like which one of them did that. Probably
I think Daddy.
Mr. Stone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Daddy took care of it. Because he's getting everything ready for her. It's her big night. This is all about Lola. So the first thing that Brent sees when he comes to is sitting across from him is Eric in a suit. Because he's also dressed for prom night. And he's just like staring at him.
He's chaperoning.
Yeah. And he's like, who is this man? He's never seen this man before. And he's just immediately terrified. And then this amazing shot where Lola just like leans into frame and she's all done up in she's wearing her pink prom dress and she has all this like glittery pink eye makeup and she just smiles at him and he's like, oh no.
Yeah, he starts doing the mental math. So I gotta say right here. So I was like, okay, this is Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, totally.
And I had to like look at the timeline, and I'm just like, there's absolutely no way that Resident Evil 7 was not inspired by this movie.
Really? You think so?
There are too many parallels.
There's a lot of parallels to it.
Like,
no, straight up, the fact that you just brought it up, that's so
There
funny.
are direct scenes in this movie that are analogous to scenes in Resident Evil 7. Him at the table, that's the beginning of Resident Evil 7.
That's literally how it happens, yeah.
I thought it was mostly
with
a
the Twisted
Texas Chainsaw thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the same, it's like...
I never thought about that.
The Sawyer family, it's totally, they're all, all within, like, the same, like...
Wake up in a nightmare at this table, not knowing how bad it's gonna get.
Yeah, that was straight up, it's so disgusting.
It feels like it was, like, filtered, like, Texas Chainsaw had some inspiration to this, but I can't say that Resident Evil 7 didn't also like have it distilled through this to where they just added the infection element and stuff. But like,
that's so funny that you said get ready for video game talk today.
Yeah,
I was like, what does he mean?
There's a part coming up
at?
where he's like behind the wheel, where Daddy's behind the wheel.
Oh shit, you're right. Wow, holy shit, you're so right.
He's Jack Baker, bro. He's literally Jack Baker, and
that's wild.
And Bright Eyes is hell of reminiscent of the mom.
The mom, yeah, in the fucking
right. So
holy
Bright
shit.
Eyes.
Oh god.
And this movie's like 8 years before Resident Evil 7. So
hell yeah.
That's fucking that's so fucking wild. You're totally right. No, I'm on board. Yeah.
So on the other end of the table, when he turns his head, is this woman, just emaciated woman who's been put in a blue prom dress also, and she's just like you can tell
that's a shell of a woman.
Something's not right with her. Like she's very vacant. She has this scar in the middle of her forehead that looks like
it's like a bullet hole.
That's what I thought at first too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and she's just like she might not even be in there. She's like staring at him, but
she's looking right through him.
Yeah. Her skin is very sallow, and like her hair is just a mess.
Yeah,
and she's just been. You can tell that she's been dressed by someone else.
Yeah.
It's interesting you make the point about her hair. Like, she has like no nutrients in her body, essentially.
Yeah, she's just barely being taken care of.
Ugh.
And they're just sitting at this table, and he's like, "What is this?" He's tied up, he can't move. And Lola picks up a syringe and puts it in this bottle of blue liquid, and Eric gets up and holds him in a headlock.
This is like the scariest part about this movie for me.
It's so terrifying.
This is the one that got me. I don't know why it gets so much worse, but like
it takes its time too. You're like, okay, what fresh hell is this?
This is really bad.
This is.
Go ahead, continue.
Oh, you know what? This is the one thing we didn't put a trigger warning for. Trigger warning: syringes.
Oh,
syringes.
Yeah, there you go.
It's happening to you now.
Skip the next 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about syringes.
Exactly.
And she's flicking it to make sure that the liquid is where it needs to be. And he's like, "What is that? Get the fuck away." And she puts it in his neck, and he starts to scream. And as she pumps it into his neck, his scream just dies away into
like someone turned the volume knob down.
Yeah, into a rasp. He just loses his voice as he's screaming. It's so good.
So I looked at the synopsis that I read earlier, said that was Bleach.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It was blue. It's just like his throat is ruined.
He'll never speak again. I didn't even think about that till after the movie. That's one thing is I wish they would have been a little more explicit with exactly what they were doing to him, because it's a little. It's like there's that, and then there's like a part where they're throwing salt on him, and I thought it was lye, because that would be way more brutal.
No, I knew. She says something about like not too much because it's bad for you.
Like
and that's
salt.
Exactly. That's why I was like, oh, okay, she's throwing salt on him.
There's so much good taunting in this.
Oh my
she
God.
and her dad are such a fucking nightmare team.
They're
when they take his voice away, they look at each other and they're like, "We can't hear you."
It's so fucking disturbing.
It's so funny because it's like 100% that's a reference to like an Australian show that we don't know.
Right, yeah, they're just having fun with it. And then
on some of the podcasts I listen to, they always mention "Hey, hey, it's Saturday," and which is like a kids show. And so I was like madly Googling, like trying to find out if there's a correlation. I was like, the one Australian thing I know.
I don't know a lot about the place. I just know that it's insane.
I know I want nothing to do with the insect life.
Yeah, absolutely. Goddamn,
Next level.
Nope, not for me.
Fuck that.
Yeah, motherfuck that, bro. I'm never. Yeah, no, hell no. But no, the way that his fucking scream, like it. it just sounds like he's screaming through like cotton.
Yeah.
Like it's just like fucking it's white noise leaving his throat. It's so disgusting.
I'm not sure if he's good at it or if it's sound design, but I feel like it's
No, it has to be him.
Yeah.
It has to be him. No, there's techniques. Like he's definitely like, again, like utilizing some sort of like black metal
that's pretty
techniques.
Funny. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like in a band or something with
absolutely, with all the music shit going on, like his whole Metallica.
He seems like he's in a band.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, it absolutely feels like he's utilizing those like techniques that black metal vocalists like kind of they use less of their diaphragm and more of their throat. So it's less it's less guttural, it's less bass in it, but it's like you get the highs and that like screechiness.
It sounds like a zombie screech. Yeah.
It's I mean, again, beautiful in certain contexts, disturbing as fuck in this one.
It's just so terrifying. Like the first thing that they do to him is just so cruel. You're like, how can this just be the first thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It like actually is more brutal than a thing you'd see in a lot of other movies. Like it does start out at like a higher level, but while also like
because you know that it's permanent.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But while also having constant jokes, like
yeah,
that's what I'm saying, dude.
They're
it's
so
fucked
cruel.
up. Like, yeah, it's like super fucking black comedy, man.
Yeah, and there's another really great thing about this is the movie does such a good job of just like very calmly giving you the impression that Lola and her father have been doing this for years. It's all very practiced. They're like they move from one thing to the next. Like they take his voice away, and then she's like, okay, it's picture time. Yeah. And then he gets out this Polaroid camera and
God, I want to draw on him.
Oh my God. She sits on his lap and they take a couple of pictures, and then he's like, he asks Lola, like Lola's in charge. This is her night. And he's like, what?
Sorry. I just think it's because she has Bright Eyes sit down too, and then
he's like. He's like, can we do one with Bright Eyes?
He tells her afterwards.
And she's like, fine. Like she hates Bright Eyes.
And at this point I couldn't figure out why, and later it makes more sense. But when she pulls her hair, I like had to I played it back a couple times because I was like, what am I missing here? Like,
what is this?
Yeah.
So he like picks Bright Eyes up and puts her on Brent's other knee. So he's got both of these women sitting on him, and he takes a picture. And like right when he takes the picture, Lola reaches behind and pulls Bright Eyes' hair, and she makes the same sound that Brent is now making, which means she has also had her voice taken away.
That's a fantastic catch. I didn't think on that level at that point.
She's been processed also, but like a long time ago.
God.
And
shit is nightmare.
Yeah, so she yelps because she's had her hair pulled, and it was done secretly, so Eric doesn't know what happened, and he's like, it's just a little flash, like, don't be scared. And then you get this shot, like this close shot of Lola smiling, and you're like, oh, you evil cunt. She's just she's so evil.
And then we jump back to Jamie in the car, right?
Jamie and Mia have not gone into the dance.
Nope, they are having themselves a good time.
They're just jamming out to music and smoking and drinking, and then there's another great slow-mo shot of she's just like chugging probably vodka, and he's just watching her like, holy shit, where is this night going?
When she takes a drag he's off of the joint,
he's like, in another life I spent my entire night trying to get you that Goldschlager vodka.
The same way that he looks at her, like, when she takes a drag is the same way I look at my girl when she takes a smoke.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
You're like, is this real?
This can't be real, but
this is happening.
We're rolling with it right now.
Yeah. I love the slow-mo shots so much. They're fun. So good.
Yeah, they're really fun. In other movies, they feel like they're wasted. It feels like
they feel meaningless. Every one of these ones is very impactful.
It's
and like,
really meant
it puts
to
you
tell,
inside someone's mind.
Yep, it's really meant to tell something about the characters.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, you need to like focus on them and what like they're living in this moment, and you like, says so much about them.
Yeah, I'd really love to draw from this film in something that I make that like uses that in a really impactful way to show you that one character is like studying another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It works so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's time to eat chicken.
Good. I love that the packages just say good food.
Good food. Yep.
Oh God. Yeah, it's like it's dinner time, and Brent is just sitting there watching. Like, he doesn't want to eat. No one's offered him food.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there, and he's trying to get loose from his ropes. He's like, I got nothing but time. I just gotta try this.
Hey, it's prom night. My boy's allowed to get loose.
Exactly. And also, Bright Eyes is just sitting there staring into space.
God.
And Lola offers Daddy a wishbone. She's like, make a wish. And they do the thing where they pull on the wishbone, and whoever gets the bigger piece gets the wish.
So disturbing.
And he gets it, and she's like instantly like
her feelings
crushed.
are hurt.
She's like, oh no, everything was supposed to be perfect, and he got it, and he like feels bad, and he's like, I wished for you anyway. And she's like, I wished for you too.
And
that's
is disgusting.
That's another one for the incest counter.
Yeah.
And then he's so sad afterwards, where it's like, I don't know. It's almost like no matter what they do, they'll disappoint each other. It like almost feels like that in and of itself is like,
it's hopeless.
Yeah, like that is a statement on their fucking like incest, you know?
Yeah. There's just no way to make it work because they're trying to like operate at these two different places, and they are like thoroughly opposite places. So they have this crazy tension that is only getting worse because she's now like almost an adult.
It's making my skin crawl.
It's so much.
I don't like it, and it makes me feel bad.
I thought we lost the visitor queue episode.
Well, it's back, baby. And it's really interesting too because like who knows how long this has been a thing for him, but like I feel like she's just now starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
So she's coming around the bend here. And she says,
damn it, Evelyn.
which is probably another reason that she hates Bright Eyes. So she's like,
it is for
who
sure.
looks prettier, me or Bright Eyes?
Yeah, exactly.
And Eric is like, oh no, what do I say?
He's like, you both look good.
You both look really nice. And then she like picks up a drumstick and she shoves it in Bright Eyes' face, and Bright Eyes is like just trying to get this thing out of her face, and she's just unhappy. And then she tries to like put a glass of milk in her mouth, and it just pours down her front.
Fucked up. It's
really fucked.
This shit is
Then she says, better not get too skinny or Daddy won't like you anymore, will he, Daddy? And she looks at Daddy, and Daddy's just like, I guess. Yeah.
Fucking.
So there's this sort of like indication that Bright Eyes is his wife, and he still loves her. He wears a wedding ring, but
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, me neither.
yeah, he's got a wedding ring on.
I didn't catch that.
And he's like, he seems to be apologetic or like trying to include Bright Eyes, but Lola is like, no, it's just you and me.
Jesus.
And then she's like doing this awful thing to Bright Eyes, who's just like trying to be left alone, and she notices that Brent is watching. And she's like, what are you looking at? Do you want some? And he's like, no. And she tries to put a drumstick in his face.
Is it good?
Is it finger licking good? And he's just like trying to stay small and like like wait for this to end. Mm-hmm. And there's this like great unspoken like signaling between her and her father where she's trying to like do this thing and like put the chicken in his mouth and make it like sexy or something. And Brent is not reciprocating, and she turns towards her father.
She
and
doesn't say anything.
She doesn't say a goddamn thing, but he knows like, oh, my princess isn't getting what she wants out of this.
On it, boss.
And he gets up and he gets the hammer and he sits back down and he's right across the table from Brent staring at him, and he's got this hammer, and she's like, well, is it finger looking good? And he's like, what is happening? Yeah. And Eric like slams the hammer on the table. And Brent is like, I think I'm in trouble, and he just like nods like, yeah, it's good.
And he says too, Eric says, I killed your dog with this.
Yeah.
And then they go,
God.
and a nail, and they like laugh.
And a nail.
Ugh.
There's such a nightmare
people.
team.
Yeah, fuck these people, bro.
Yeah, well, she's the product of him. She's like, he made her. So
yeah,
all of her psychosis comes from him.
I know, but still.
But she's the main aggressor, very much like,
bro.
she's more twisted than he ever could have hoped for.
This is some like Carla Homolka level fucking disgusting shit.
It's so bad. So she's like, okay, so if it's finger looking good, then show me.
Show me.
And she's like, wants him to suck on her finger. And he's like, oh God. But he's like in danger. So he sucks on her finger and she gets hot about it. And she's just having a time with that.
There's some moisture building up.
Yeah.
And then it's too much for Eric and he stands up really abruptly. Like he sort of like, maybe he's jealous and maybe he's like, my daughter, my baby. But he can't handle seeing her have this like sexual moment. And he's like, nope. And she very instinctively knows that she's crossed a line with her father, and she pulls her finger out of Brent's mouth, and it's so brilliantly done. Just like them like feeling out
that push and pull.
Yeah, where their lines are with each other. All at the expense of Brent's sanity.
Fucking well-being.
Yeah. And he's been trying to get out of this. He's been like whispering about how he has to go to the bathroom.
Well-being in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
He's in deep trouble.
God, this fucking scene.
It just gets worse.
This shit is so gross.
Yeah, everything about this scene is fucked up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. I can't suck your finger. I'm busy.
Somehow I feel like we should put a trigger warning for milk drinking because
there's milk in this movie.
Well, remember, they didn't watch Visitor Q. We did.
Yeah.
They weren't ready.
Fuck, man.
So she's like, oh, do you have to go ones or twos? She has all this like
I love that
infantilized dialogue. Look, so much of what she says is so like baby talk. She's like, do you have to go ones or twos? And he's like, I have to piss. And she's like, ones? Okay. And this part is so it's so heinous. She grabs a glass of milk from the table and she chugs it. And then she goes and her face is up in the light and they're like just ropes of like milk spit stretched across her teeth. It's so good. She's just like a fucking monster. And now she's got an empty cup, so she like kneels down and she gets his dick out and she puts it in the cup.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, go.
Look, under any other circumstance, I'm not yucking of any yums. But this shit is a bit too far.
It's just so bad. Yeah. And knowing like how many times they've probably done this. It's just like, oh God. Yeah. So she's like waiting for him to pee and he can't pee because this is just too much.
I can't go when you're looking at it.
Yeah. And she's like, were you telling... She says, were you telling Porky Pies?
Porky Pies, which is some like Cockney level slang. Yeah. That shit's funny.
And then she goes, bring the hammer, Daddy.
Fuck, man. I had a like, you know how you were pacing when we were watching Titan?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking, this is exactly when I started. I was like, all right, that's enough for me. I'm gonna head out.
I'm mad stressed out right now.
Exactly. Straight up not having a good time, bro.
And Eric goes and gets a hammer and a nail and he like stands behind him. So he's got this girl in front of him with his dick in a cup. And right behind him is a man with, on either side of his head, a hammer and a huge nail.
Fuck.
And she's like, you've got 10 seconds to go or Daddy's going to nail it to the chair.
That nail is bigger than some dicks.
It is a big ass nail.
That is an above average size nail.
And she starts counting, and he starts moving in. And dude, Brent is like, I'm gonna die.
It's so fucked up.
And then in the last, like, on 10, he manages to get the pee out. Ugh. And this bitch.
This is disgusting.
This psycho bitch. She's like, oh, it's crying.
I laughed so hard. And the discomfort definitely added to the laugh. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's just so weird, creepy bullshit.
It's fucking amazing. Like, this is art to the highest degree somehow.
And she's like, I better kiss it better. And she's like leaning down towards his dick, and her father's just watching her do this.
And his face, like, I know people can't see my face, but he's just like, like
you can gather,
like leering, like
it's an audio medium.
But he's also, you're not sure if he's gonna be like, no, okay, we're done. Mm-hmm. Like he's like on a line.
Yeah,
he's very tightly wound.
Yeah.
About this. Mm-hmm. And she's like about to kiss his dick or something, and then she pops back into frame, and she's like, oh, maybe I should bite it off so she can never kiss it again.
Yeah.
And like Brent hits his breaking point. He's just like, I can't with this bullshit. I'm so done with this cunt. And he just kicks her in the chest.
Fucking whack.
And he sends her flying across like
the whole table
through the table.
Yeah, the whole table just evaporates.
Yeah. And she goes flying. Yeah. Her dad goes after her. He's like, princess. And Brent gets up and just hops out of the room.
Yeah, because by this time he's already undone his ropes.
Yeah, he's gotten loose a little bit.
He cut through with the razor necklace.
He has his razor blade necklace, which I sort of consider to be a plot hole. Because I find it hard to believe that they would have changed his clothes and allowed him to keep that.
Keep the necklace, yeah.
But I'll allow
Unless it was underneath his, you know what I mean?
Like if they kept his shirt on.
Yeah, they just kept his shirt on. They just threw everything on.
It's possible. I always considered it to be a plot hole, but it never really bothered me.
Yeah.
It's not a big enough one for it to detract from the movie.
Yeah, I like more that it's a meaningful object. It's like his means of like bringing himself closer to death, and now it's saving his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is more impactful than whether it makes sense.
Exactly.
I think this first one, he just literally untied it, and then later he uses the thing, and we see him.
Well, he has it out when he gets outside.
Yeah, because he does use it out there. But I think this first one, because it seems more like he just stands up and like has pulled loose than like he's.
Yeah, because he's been working on it the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
So he hops away. He like gets fully out of the house
with his dick out, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. And Eric goes out after him, and he's looking around, and it's very quiet. And he's like, "Where the fuck did that kid go?" And he like leans into his car and turns on the headlights so he can see. And you realize that Brent is underneath the car.
That's so good.
And he's under there working on like cutting his ropes.
Yeah.
And you can see the side of the car, it says E. Stone Repairman, which gives a little context to what Dad does for a living.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's just like, that's why he has tools and stuff. And yeah.
That's smart. That's a really good again, because you're so caught up with like what the fuck you're watching on screen. It's so heinous. Yeah, all these little details are like dropped in there without you really like paying full attention to them.
Yeah, it's just part of the rich environment of what's going on. So he's like, he gets in the car, he's like, I gotta drive around and find this kid, and he backs away from the house and uncovers Brent, and Brent's like, oh fuck, and he's like, there you are.
God, that's and
he's driving around the yard chasing this poor kid, and he's like running through the clothesline, and like,
was this like the second level in Resident Evil?
Yeah. And it's a really great echo to his car accident. He's just running from this car, And
I didn't even put that together. That's fucking.
The themes are really well established
that's
throughout.
Super fucking smart.
So Sideshow joked, but like this is the first boss fight in Resident Evil 7.
Straight up. That's what I'm saying.
You go into the garage and you fight the father, and his car is in the garage, and you can try to get the key and use the car to like fight him. But then he just like grabs you and rips you out and gets in the car, and eventually he just starts in this enclosed,
like doing donuts in a fucking garage,
just chasing you around and around.
Yeah, because he just doesn't care, you know. So he's just smashing into walls and trying to kill you. So it's this, but just amped up and amped up and amped up.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so good, dude.
I do remember that. Yeah, it could be.
That's what I'm saying, dude. These are, you know what? We'll have to get someone to fucking do a side by side of like the clips from that.
I was very surprised because I kept Googling and I could not find one article. Like, isn't it weird that these things are so similar?
It's that deep cut. Only we know.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool.
So Brent has nowhere to go really, and he scrambles up a tree, and then the car crashes into the tree. So I feel like that's definitely an echo.
Oh, it has to be, yeah.
His car crash.
Totally.
It's a pretty gentle. He just bumps into the tree.
Yeah.
And then Brent is stuck in a tree.
Man.
There was nothing good to come of this situation.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
He just needed to get out of there.
Oh, man.
And then Eric's like, now what do I do now? And Lola comes running out of the house with a flashlight. And I love this. Eric is like, where's Bright Eyes? And Lola's like, she's in her room, so she can't get out. So she's just put her away like a pet.
Yeah, exactly. Like a pet. That's fucking...
Jesus.
Ugh.
And they're like looking up in the tree, and he's up there, and they're trying to figure out how to get him down. And they just start
throwing fucking rocks at him.
Throwing big ass rocks at him.
Not even rocks, those are stones,
like fist-sized rocks.
Those are fucking huge, dude. They're throwing boulders at his ass.
It's really scary. And Lola is just cackling like an insane witch. She's just demented. And eventually they hit him, and he and this stunt is like hardcore. Dude. He just falls like a fucking sack of rocks.
Falls,
the falls are great.
They're so good. You're like, okay, you could go from the branch to the floor. That's fine. You could do that. No, they decided, you know what? We're gonna hit the fucking car on the way down.
He hits the edge of the car.
That's
so bad.
Fucking made me cringe, dude. I was like, oh my god, like
that could be a death fall.
Yeah, literally,
it could kill you.
That's literally like snapping a spine fall, bro.
It made me have a flashback to when I was a kid. Me and 3 of my siblings shared a room, and it was 2 bunk beds. And I was on the top bunk, and I fell off.
This'll be fine.
I fell off the top bunk. I rolled off the top bunk, and there was like a TV there, and I hit my head on the TV on my way down, and I remember like laying on the ground and just being like, "Oh my fucking god!" And, like, is my neck broken? Like, what the fuck? And then after that, just being like, "Y'all can have the top bunk. I'm good."
Yeah, bro.
I don't want it.
I flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, dude, I fractured my arm one time from fucking falling off the top bunk.
Bro,
it's
dangerous.
Beds, dude.
People do not realize how dangerous it is.
That shit was fucking bad, dude. No, fuck bunk beds. Moral of the story.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Anti-cop, anti-bunk bed.
You just want to save room by stacking your kids. It's not going to work.
Stacking.
Have you tried the Jenga method?
So then we get right back into it.
Man.
Brent gets tied back to the chair, which is bolted to the floor, by the way.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Two of the legs are screwed to the floor.
Oh, that's fucked up. I was like, how is it when he like kicks back?
It definitely rattles a little bit because it's only got 2 legs attached.
Shit.
But
he's got hinges on the floor.
It's
that's
bolted down.
Dude,
this is the chair.
The chair.
As soon as they sat him back down, I was like, god damn it, I know what you're about to do.
This is gonna get real bad. Yeah, and he's not even conscious yet.
No shoes.
Yeah.
And they take his shoes and socks off, and they arrange his feet.
Fuck.
And Eric has a knife and the hammer.
Yeah, he does.
And he says,
he
boys... he says boys shouldn't hit girls. And then he just starts hammering that knife into his foot.
Fucking blood-curdling screams.
Brent wakes the fuck up for that. And he's screaming as loud as he can with his vocal cords destroyed.
God. It's nightmarish on every fucking possible level.
He's just in such agony, and that knife is getting just hammered deeper and deeper into his foot and into the floor.
It's fun. Like the sound foley that they did for that is fucking phenomenal too. It's just that shit is rough to listen to.
And he's struggling, and Lola sits on him to keep him still.
Yeah. Hold his feet down.
Yeah. And this is such a good moment for Brent's character. She's like right in his face, and she's like cry.
Oh yeah, that was great. I loved that scene.
And
I loved that.
It was cool, but it was also a little weird that like I kind of felt like some of the implication was like, this guy cuts himself. You think you can hurt him?
Exactly. I mean, that is the point.
Yeah, but it's so good because she's just like, she's such a bitch, and she's right in his face, and she's like, cry.
I do like him denying her. Yeah, totally.
He's in such agony, and he's just like trembling and sweating, and he looks her in the eyes, and he's just like,
nah.
Nope.
Nah.
No, you have no idea what real pain is.
I'm so sorry. You're about to hear Amanda laugh from down the hallway. I always like joke about when like the three of us were like high school age, and you would get all those like emo memes on like MySpace. So Brent right there just hella reminds me of, if you slit my throat with my dying breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt. Like that's Brent's energy right there.
Yeah, he's just full of. Now you've met a real emo.
I'm an elder goth.
Joke's on you, I'm hard.
I'm hard. This is like a pretty boner-centric movie, honestly.
Oh, dude,
it's mostly about dicks.
And about family.
And family. This is a family show.
You know what gets one particular character in this movie stick hard? Family.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So, Mr. Valentine, who is a good police officer and community member, has been out looking for Brent, and he finds his iPod and earphones and his
and a small amount of
marijuana weed pipe.
Small amount.
Which he puts all that.
Put him away for 12 years.
He puts all that into a bag, like an evidence bag, and he shows it to his mom, and she knows that like he would never drop those things. So they're like, "This is really bad."
He values his marijuana way more than this.
And then there's this great little. There are so many good scenes that are so short, just enough to get you to the next thought. Holly is sitting with Brent's mom at his house, and they're just wondering, like, they're waiting for Brent. They're hoping that he's okay. And his mom is like, he thinks I blame him.
Yeah.
For the accident. And Holly just says, "Do you?" And
there's a long pause.
She doesn't answer that question.
It's so good because I don't think that gets resolved either. They just that's kind of one of those things.
You get the feeling that his mom really can't separate him from it, and that's been part of the reason why he's just so he's having such a miserable time is that he feels like he's lost both his parents.
And it's not like she maliciously blames him. It's like she
just can't help it.
Yeah, she cannot bring herself to forgive him as much as she wants to.
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes you're not in control of what your mind decides.
Yeah.
Like, I wish this could be different, but I just can't let this go.
And I think she kind of went the opposite direction of becoming super overbearing and like overprotective of him.
Yeah.
When the grief hit her,
but also like, not like completely loving him.
Not exactly, like, because she's not coping with it. She's not dealing with it. She's just like, oh, your child need to protect. Like,
yeah.
Here's another through line on this pod: get therapy.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So don't do weed, get therapy.
Speaking of, have you heard of BetterHelp? No, I don't say the BH word without a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. They're not paying us yet.
So now it's scrapbook time.
Oh my god, so brutal. Yeah, and this connects so many dots. This
is
where you really get her whole like origin story.
Yeah. You fill in the blanks here. Lola is showing Brent her scrapbook of all the boys that came before him, and it's made of like, and it goes way back to when she was little. There are pictures of her as a little girl next to like a boy that's tied up, and they've just been doing this for years and years. And she's like
a literal child that's tied. It's so fucked,
which means
bro.
Her father introduced her to this lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she didn't come up with this all by herself. And obviously like something's up with Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
And she's like, all the scrapbook like entries are missing kid cutouts from newspapers, which is just heartbreaking.
It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and she's like colored on them and like scribbled their eyes out.
You know what? We were talking about the drawings earlier. It's interesting because I actually didn't see the picture with the kid, but as we're seeing this part, her drawings on the missing posters do not get better. It is the same. So I didn't.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
She's stunted.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that some of those actually were from her childhood in the scrapbook. I must have been taking a note or whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, she's not progressing. This is just this is her whole life. Yeah. This is her tradition.
It does such a good job of like, again, the thing that I love about these movies is like, it's not a movie about the lore of this family, but they find time in this movie to allude to and fill all those things in a show not tell sort of way. Yeah. Where she's telling him about this stuff, but it's really the visual information that's giving us all of this connective tissue. Right. And then it foreshadows certain things like right before we discover them. And then you end up find out there's so much more like rich underlying story here than you'd expect.
Talking about one of the tightest scripts, I think.
Oh yeah, it wastes no time. It takes its time, and it has a very comfortable pace, but like it doesn't.
It's not jarring.
Nothing seems forced.
Slow. It's nothing. Yeah,
it's just right. Yeah. So she's showing him, and he's trying not to look at the scrapbook. Like he doesn't want to see it. And there are these photos of like these boys that have been. Like they have like a heart carved on their chest, and it says LS for Lola Stone, and just all these like Polaroid photos of like boys that she's tortured.
Yeah,
and she's like mocking them. She's like, "Oh, this one peed his pants. He cried, and this one was boring."
Can you believe this guy cried with several knives in his body? Oh,
right. And and Brent's not looking at the book, and like Lola and Eric both are sort of like disappointed that he's not interested. They're both like, oh, well, he doesn't like it. Well, lame.
He's no fun.
Yeah.
Well, because even she says, I think like soon she says it, but she's like, I've been looking for the one, and like you're not him.
Yeah. And he has two knives he has a knife in each foot now, by the way. God. So he's thoroughly attached to the floor, and she's just sitting on him, like showing him this,
pinned,
and
bro.
Yeah. Ugh. But he's like ignoring the scrapbook, but then she's like, oh, and then this is the one that got away. Timmy Valentine.
I love that phrasing so much.
Yeah, and he's like, I know that name. Yeah. And he like wakes up and he looks down at the picture, and it's Timmy Valentine. Is the boy that he saw on the road that he swerved around when he crashed and his father died. He saw that boy standing in the road with the heart carved on his chest, and he didn't know who it was or what he saw at the time. And he realizes now, and there are clippings on the page that explain how Mr. Valentine's family has been looking for him this whole time, and he's presumed dead. And he pieces it together. And she's like,
he's looking at the article like, I really hope some random French lady doesn't break her nose to try to look like this guy.
Could happen.
Absolutely. This is a Teton origin story.
He's just walking from this movie to Teton.
And she says he's probably dead by now. And it makes you, you wonder, because you don't have closure on that. You're like, if he escaped from them and he wandered off...
Yeah, his family hasn't seen him still.
Where did he go?
Because, if the people haven't pieced this together, that's the son, or he's the brother of the
goth girl.
The goth girl, the big titty goth girl.
Yeah, which explains a little bit about why she is so the way
hard.
She is.
Yeah, she's going so hard on prom night.
Yeah. So he's learned something from this scrapbook, and then Lola says, I'm ready to draw on him now.
God, I got a fucking chill up my spine when she said that bullshit. I was like, oh, God.
I like in this scene, too, that we see... Or maybe it's a little later. I thought it was in this scene. But when we see... I think it is this one, actually, because she's doing the scrapbook, and then she's, sprinkling sparkles on it. And you just see, pounds of sparkles mixing with his blood around his feet.
That's right.
Just
they do
a really interesting choice of imagery. It's like sludge. It's like becoming this paste.
His mutilated feet are in this puddle of glitter blood. It's amazing.
That's a sick-ass band name.
Glitter blood.
It's really good.
Fuck, that's good. Yeah.
And then we get another little cutaway to Jamie and Mia, who are smoking weed in the car. And Jamie, who's down for whatever, is sort of like, maybe we should go into the dance? Or we could get something to eat. And she takes a drag of the joint, and she's like, come here, I'll feed you.
Fantastic.
And she just, so good.
I know, exactly.
And she blows smoke into his mouth, and it's all these tight, slow-mo shots of her being super hot. And he's just like, oh my God, what is my life? And I also love...
No, I understand.
Oh yeah, you gotta just embrace it.
I empathize.
And it's such a good cut too, because she says, come here, I'll feed you. And then it cuts to a bloody fork.
No.
Which
didn't even notice that.
It's so brilliant.
That's amazing.
The fork that Lola has been using to carve a big ass heart and her initials in Brent's chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just that wide shot, and he's just looking so bad.
Yeah.
Just bleeding.
I love that you don't see any of it until that's the reveal. All of that violence happens off camera, because it's we don't need to show it. We know we know what happens,
how this night is going.
It's I think that was a really good that was an interesting choice to not show that too, because up until this point you've shown literally everything.
Yeah. And just the horrible nature of the ins and outs of the traditions that they've come up with. They have salt, and they're throwing salt on his chest wounds.
Oh, that shit is rough. Son.
Who came up with this and why?
God, it's so granular.
Yeah.
It's so granular. I don't even remember
Lola
what that's
says,
from, but I remember that.
She says,
fuck, man.
Not too much. It's supposed to be bad for you. Salt is bad for your blood pressure.
So good.
And then, detail shot, she takes the cap off the thing, off the bottle, and she throws the whole fucking bottle on his chest. and he just goes into the next dimension.
That leaves his body.
Yeah, there's just like a nightmare montage where he's just trembling in terror, and they're like mocking him, and he's just like, he can't even see straight.
God,
he's just been so terrorized all night, and it's just welling up in him, and he's like, I'm gonna die here. There's no way.
At that point, you come to accept your fate.
Yeah. This is
Shit.
Sorry, go ahead.
So this is the point where I made this note that I've been like dying to bring up. So it's strange to realize at this point in the movie, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, you, or rather I, expected the movie to be, why won't you love me? You're going to love me. I don't care what it takes. Love me, love me, love me. But it's not that at all. Even though her whole like MO as a serial killer is these guys have jilted me, etc., etc. It's like she purposely went after a guy that had a girlfriend so that she can have an excuse to be like, oh, he was mean to me, so now I can do whatever I want because now it's okay because that's what Daddy taught me. Like as opposed to what you'd expect, which is, I love this guy, like, she's not right for him.
They all turn me down.
Yeah, but instead it's just, oh, you'd rather go with your established girlfriend that you've been with for at least 6 months and we're in high school, so obviously I've, like, seen you guys together everywhere. Oh, really? You'd rather be with her? Okay. You know, like, it just kind of speaks to how fabricated a lot of this, like, is.
It's just a game.
Yeah, because at this point I was like, she doesn't even care. She's like, at the very beginning, she was like, oh, you know, suck on my finger, and oh, I'm gonna kiss it, and all this. But now she's just like even that was just taunting. It wasn't even meant to be like, you're gonna love me. Look at, like, I could do it better than her. You know, like that's where I thought that weird shit was going. But it's just whatever, man. This is an excuse. This is a reason to lay into you. So
right. This is a tradition. There's gonna be a boy every year.
Exactly. Like, I think that's what's so interesting about this film, because it's really, in a weird way, it does portray the mind of a serial killer really well. From, like, you know, over the years I've had a fascination with, like, true crime and stuff, so you kind of, like, learn about, like, a lot of these serial killers have this, like, they give themselves permissions to do things. Like, you put yourself in a situation where it's like, well, I had to do that.
It's like, oh, don't mind if I do.
Exactly. So you have, like, that's, like, essentially what she is doing in this situation, what they're doing. It's like they put themselves in this situation where it's like,
it's theater.
Exactly. It's just performative for them. They're just doing it for each other. And, like, there doesn't have to be a reason behind it. It's just like, oh, like this story that we have, it's almost like they don't want to break the fourth wall between their own fucking fantasy.
It's an excuse to play the game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Absolutely. Oh, this is the part where Holly goes into Brent's room and finds the card that says he did say I love you. She thought that he couldn't say it.
He wrote it down. He wrote it down. Yeah.
Just the Humpty Dumpty card that said, thanks for doing what all the King's men couldn't do.
That's such a cute fucking
really
line. Bro, that's a really goddamn good line.
As the TikTok kids would say, solid riz.
Do they say that
They
now?
do. That's the new term for pool or game is, you got riz.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Riz.
I just felt old.
It cracks me up because it reminds me of the old Razzle Dazzle. So I ride with it.
It's like some 1920s lingo.
Yeah. Rizzle Dizzle.
There's one of my favorite memes is it's just like a seagull and it's just got little like stick arms doing like a and it just says give him the old Razzle Dazzle.
Razzle Dazzle.
Dude, birds with arms is everything.
Oh, so good. So good.
I always have time for birds with arms.
But right now we need to get back to mutilation.
Yeah. So this is Jamie finally gets Mia to go into the dance, and she's so drunk, and she like falls out of the car. She like falls on the ground, and he's like, "Upsie daisy," and he he escorts her into the dance, and she's like pushing him away, like, get the fuck off me. And then
oh man, they go and have themselves a time, don't
meanwhile in terms of playing the game, they're pretending that, like, Eric is reading off an imaginary card, and he's like, and the queen of the dance this year is Lola Stone, and she just
so
this amazing. I love how this movie's so gross, but it's also very pretty, and like everything's pink and sparkly, and she just has this like glamour shot where she's like, oh my god, I won, and he puts the pink paper crown on her, and she's just like, I'm so beautiful. Oh, it's fucking ridiculous.
Little me.
And Brent's got his crown on, and it's just like blooded and sweated and spitted to his head.
So
like he's just fucking barely. Oh, and they all have the blow, like the noisemakers.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, make noise or we're gonna kill you, essentially. And he just
Jesus. He can't even blow it. It's so fucked, bro.
It like straightens out barely.
And then back at the prom, Jamie and Mia are dancing, and she's just like, she's wrapped around him really tightly, and she has this like moment of desperation or something, and she starts like trying to grab his dick on the dance floor.
No, she does.
Yeah, she's grabbing his dick.
She's
funneling them in.
To speak the language of the land this movie exists in, she's giving him a wristy.
Yeah. And he is, you know, I'm sure in some ways he's enjoying it, but he's just like, oh my god, this is happening in front of everyone that I go to school with, and everyone's looking at them, and it's just really awkward. And Mia notices that some people are staring at her, and she like over his shoulder, she's like clinging to him, and she's like, what the fuck are you looking at? And they get kicked out of the dance.
You get the Australian Ben Stein come over. Bueller, you need to fucking beat it.
Bueller.
Oh yeah, and this is where Lola is dancing with Brent in the chair, and Eric is standing over them like he's just sprinkling glitter on them.
And he has a crown on too. And it's funny because like as we're transitioning to this next scene, I'm making this note, and I'm like, the dad also having a crown on really speaks to his unhealthy obsession and how he clearly wants to be with his daughter and be her prince. Like he's like I'm royalty too. And like as I'm typing this out, the next scene unfolds, and I'm like, well, I may as well just fucking delete this.
It's all in there. Yeah. I mean, like I can't tell if she's like if he's standing up. I guess he's standing up in front of the chair. They stood him up, and he's like, they're swaying back and forth, and his feet with the knives are just like shifting. And the glitter.
I was unsure on that too, but like hearing you say it out loud, it makes sense. That is what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's looking him in the face, and she's like, when I find my prince, and they're playing that dumbass song, her favorite song. She's like, when I find my prince, this is the song we're going to dance to at my wedding.
Right, that's right.
And then she's like, but you're not him. You're just another frog. And she like stomps on the knives. That fucking bitch.
It just gets so much worse, bro.
And then she's like, dance with me, daddy. And they go and they dance together to the song. And Brent
I'm uncomfortable.
He gets the razor blade out of his pocket, and he's like, I gotta get busy with this. I really need to get the fuck out of here. And he like drops the razor blade on the chair behind him, and he's like, oh fuck. He's just really focused on his project, which is surviving this night. And Lola and her dad are really busy dancing, and she's like, I figured it out. Why I can't find one I like. It's because you're the prince.
I fucking hate this.
It's always been you, daddy. Just and me.
This shit's disgusting.
And he's like, and he's just like, trying to like.
They're literally about to.
He's
kiss.
just like grooming successful.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're
I
just,
gotta remember to text
so
Drake
close.
later.
They're like, she's fully like, she closes her eyes and she goes in for a kiss, and he's just like trying to hold off, but he's like, this is everything that I've ever wanted. And they're gonna kiss. And then Brent like sits down on the chair because he's like trying to get his razor blade, and he like startles them, and they don't kiss. But they were gonna.
But what's important here is that they were about to.
Yeah.
And that's canon.
Yeah. That goes in the book. That goes in the scrapbook. So.
I fucking hate this.
And then,
We have to joke to cope.
this is the only way we get through this, man.
Exactly.
There's a cutaway. Mr. Valentine has driven Holly back to her house for the night because like they're not gonna find Brent tonight. He drops her off, and he's like, if you think of anything, give me a call just anytime. And she goes into her house and she calls her mom, who's like away somewhere overseas, and she's like, she just leaves a voicemail with her mom, and she's like, I just wanted to talk to you. And then she just starts crying in the room by herself because she's sure of the worst and she doesn't know what to do. It's like a sad little moment where she's all alone. And then back to the bullshit.
Yeah, little human emotion. Back to the funny farm.
Exactly.
Eric is chopping the head off of the roadkill possum, and he tosses the carcass to Lola, who catches it. Dude, and Lola's just standing next to him, and she's like, and he's just like, what now?
This shit. Yeah, exactly.
What could possibly happen now? What is she gonna do with this dead animal?
Where could this possibly escalate to?
Exactly. And it goes. And it takes
a fucking elevator.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. This shit is fucking crazy.
So she has this dead animal, and Eric has a bucket, and they both walk away from him across the room, and he's like, is this somehow not about me? What is this?
They hella walk away like they're about to like reveal that like just, I don't know, it just feels like almost like an Avengers like comic book. Like they have so much confidence. It's almost like they're gonna be like, actually, Brent, we've been torturing you to make sure that you can be an Avenger.
Yeah, it feels like they're about to do like a musical number or something.
Fury walks out of the basement.
This guy could take one hell of a knife in the foot.
And he's just like furiously cutting the ropes. He's like, I gotta get through I gotta get out now. I don't know what this is, but I don't want to be here for it.
I'd be the fuck out too.
And they move the rug off of the middle of the floor, and they reveal this big ass double door trapdoor situation.
As far as trapdoors go, it's pretty fucking lavish.
It's mega. It's a big hole. Yeah, and they open this up, and you hear this like cacophony of other raspy zombie voices coming from down there, which means they have kept all of their victims, and they're all down there.
Did I ever mention to you guys Resident Evil 7?
Now that you mention it,
like it's fucking, I'm like insulted. I really loved it, but now I'm like annoyed in hindsight.
We want answers.
Oh, that's so good. You're so right.
Somebody get me on the phone to Capcom.
I love so much that there's like what they take their time in showing. Like you can't see in there, and Eric is pouring the water in. He's like, drink it up, and she's holding the carcass over the edge, and she's like, sing for your supper.
Louder, not good enough.
She's just been torturing these boys for years and years.
They're just like feral.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then we have a cutaway where Jamie and Mia have driven away. They've driven away 3 feet across the schoolyard, and now they're having sex in the car.
Yep.
And it's super steamy and hot.
Good for you.
Good for you, young man. I hope you still had a raincoat.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't
gave it away.
I couldn't help but think about how far out of their way the screenwriters went to make sure that we knew that these 2 teenagers were having unprotected sex right now. I was just like, this is a weird thing for me to like be so aware of right now. Like,
right.
why did you go through the effort?
They just wanted you to know. And this is the
Jamie's
only
hitting it raw.
This is the only part of the movie that's cheap to me. They do this cross editing where Eric steps out of his house and they make it look like he's walking up to their car.
Yeah.
Which is just so cheap.
Yeah.
It's such a dumb move. And then it's revealed that like the school superintendent knocks on the window and he's like, "When I said leave school property, I meant leave."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oops, sorry, sir." And then you see that Eric is going out to his own car at his house to get his toolbox.
It's weird because it feels to me like as an adult you would just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna not approach where I know there's 2 naked children.
Just let them do it. Just let them do
this
it.
has nothing to do with me. If I go over there, there's all these bad implications. Just as far as like not making more fucking paperwork for yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's 2009, I suppose.
Yeah, you know.
So Lola is standing in front of Brent holding this headless animal carcass, and she says, "You're my first, really." And she's pretty practiced and experienced in everything that's been going
she say
on.
You're my first drilling.
Oh, maybe she said drilling.
I think she says you're my first drilling.
That probably makes more sense. And you're just like, well, she's done everything before, so what?
Yeah, what the fuck is
this?
the new? Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, I was like, drilling?
New trauma unlocked.
And then we see the toolbox, and I was just like, good Lord in heaven.
Yeah.
And they pull out the power drill.
Well, that's not kosher.
Yeah. And Eric hands it to Lola, and this is her first time. He's been doing all the drilling, and you're like, I get it now. Like, Bright Eyes has got that fucking hole in her forehead.
That's what's really fucked up is like we talked about whether or not like sexual assault was a part of this. Has this woman been his thrall throughout Lola's entire life?
Yes,
that's literally what we were
She's
discussing.
been there this whole time.
It's like a man bites dog situation.
That's so disgusting. Dude. That's so horrifying to just like.
Yeah, this is a process that he came up with.
She was a baby factory, and that's what he wanted was for her to make a little a daughter that he could mold and groom and to have all of these like exact things. And
that's literally what it is. It's fucking disgusting.
Someone that he could be with that is like him, that he doesn't have to have as a zombie, that can be his like cohort, and that's what he has now.
Yeah,
like a soundboard essentially.
She's the prime lobotomy victim, which I guess also is why she's a little more coherent than like the other ones. He probably didn't go as hard, like I guess as far as fucking lobotomies go.
I mean, he's had a lot of practice. I think he did go too far with her, because she's pretty vacant.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like the other guys are just fucking. They're just
catatonic.
Monsters. They're just actually
not even catatonic. Yeah, just like feral. Like I said, just like rabid.
She just beings. Like definitely, or he rather, definitely like. I don't know, must have studied the parts of the brain and just been like, we're gonna and just make you an aggression machine, you know?
You hit the human restart button.
Yeah. And he says
factory settings.
He says to Lola, the trick is to not go too far, just enough to break into the skull.
And this hella reminds me of I think Saw 3. I think it's Saw 3. They have to give him. I think they have to relieve the pressure in his brain, and it's very like realistically done. And that was probably to me like the worst part of that movie.
Oh yeah. That's really hardcore.
Yeah.
This shit is just so it's so like you don't know exactly what they're gonna do. You're like, oh, okay, like the lobotomy could be the worst of it, maybe, hopefully, and then it just another layer. It just keeps getting worse. Fucked up. It's just like, oh my.
This part is really hardcore. She says, "Remove the king's crown, please, Daddy." And he's so into it. He like plays it up. He like takes the crown off really gently, and then he balls it up in a little ball and throws it away. He's like, "Hey, it's shamed him." And then he puts Brent in a headlock, and she just like holds the drill straight out in front of her and like slowly walks across the room towards him with it. And
I'm like having a trauma response.
It's really bad. Yeah. And she's like, she isn't holding it. She's holding it in one hand. So when she gets to his head, she's like
going gangster with it.
She glances off of his forehead, like it just bounces off of him. And she's like, oh, and then the father-daughter dynamic like resurfaces a little bit. He's like, you did it wrong. Like
both hands, sweetie.
You gotta hold it with both hands. And she's like embarrassed.
Cradle it into the body.
Yeah.
It's fucking disturbing.
And then she goes in for it again, and again, a lot of movies like you're like, oh well, they're playing up for time.
Someone's
and, like,
gonna
he's gonna get out of it.
We're still waiting on Jamie, essentially.
Yeah, but
that's so funny. It's exactly what I thought. I thought that was the point of the subplot.
Yeah, you just come in and save him at the last minute.
Yeah,
but nobody's there to save him.
Nope.
So she's drilling into his forehead, and they have all these tight shots of like her and him like squinting, and
again that Foley work.
There's smoke rising off of his forehead, and that to me was like the most just fucking spice on top touch. Like that was just
perfect. Yeah. It's fucking harrowing to look at, bro.
His smoking skull bone. Just, And then, she's drilling away, and she's, like, really intense, and Eric says, stop. He knows right when to stop.
There is, like, not even, like, a click or, like, a snap or, like, a crack, but there's, like, a very specific sound when she gets in.
Yeah. It's fucking disgusting.
And they don't show it. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
They don't show it right away. They show the two of them like beholding the work.
React.
And
they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and they show a shot of his hand, like he's not working on the ropes, and you're like, is that it? Like, did he just get lobotomized just now?
Yeah.
And they show this wide shot of him with this hole in his forehead, and just his face is covered in blood, and he is just dazed. And
God, it's so scary.
Yeah.
They're doing so much permanent damage to this guy.
Yeah, he's getting ruined. Yeah, and they have a couple of quick shots of him thinking of his father and his mother and his girlfriend, and he's like, I'm never going to see any of them ever again.
And it almost felt to me like that was like in that moment it was like, do I give up or do I do more? And it almost felt like it was like it's a blessing and a curse kind of moment, you know, in terms of like, obviously you don't want to be lobotomized, but he's not coping and he's hurting the people he loves and he's not getting better. So it's like almost like it's like that moment when like the superhero is like, I don't know, man, maybe I should just let you fucking destroy it all. You know, like
it's just it's gone so far, like maybe it's not worth salvaging.
Shit, at this point I'd be like, fucking put a bullet in my fucking head, bro.
Yeah. And then the kettle whistles.
God,
in the kitchen.
Damn. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's just like you think when it can't get any worse.
Yeah.
Where is the bottom of this fucked up barrel, bro? Because we're scraping it.
Because it's not the bottom of the trap door. We already know that's
no, exactly, bro.
And Lola says, "It works, you know. It boils your brains and turns you into one of them." And this is something that I learned about recently. Jeffrey Dahmer actually did this.
Yeah.
to his victims. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
He was like, he wanted to make
zombies,
a sex slave that was very like, he didn't like when his quote unquote sexual partners moved around. He wanted them to be stationary, which is why he put a lot of people under.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to have like a full-time zombie that he could keep.
He's essentially like a product killer versus a process killer, where he enjoys the end result rather than the actual act of killing.
Yeah, and that's where you get the experimentation.
Yeah, just trying to make it work. I think he was using acid. To pour into the hole.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever used hot water. Maybe once.
It's interesting because I'd never considered it, but honestly, like fucking, that's gonna do a lot of damage to your gray matter. Like, I never thought about it, but it instantly checked out. I was like, no, makes sense.
Yeah, and one of those victims, was able to walk around and talk to people. Like he wasn't right, and no one knew what was going on with him because the hole in his head was under his hair.
Yeah,
it was like on the top of his head or something. But like,
and I think
he was just walking around with brain damage.
And I think that dude actually tried to. I think he was young, and he tried to tell somebody, but he like didn't have the means to like explain it. And Jeffrey pretty much showed up and was just like, nah, we just fuck each other. And they were like, oh, gay stuff, ew. And he was just like, yep, don't worry about it. You don't even worry. Yeah,
yeah, that kid, he almost made it out. Yeah, but they were just...
It was interesting, like, recently I was reading about that, how it was, like, he just, like, I mean, he was also gay, but just used it to be like... Yeah,
as a weapon,
you don't want to fucking hear about it. So me and this kid are fucking each other in the butt, and they're just like, "Oh no,
he weaponized his sexuality."
Oh, so I don't look over there because this guy's always fucking dudes. So like, you know,
he used it to his advantage.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how calculating. Like sociopathic minds can be.
But that's what, like, that's exactly what we're talking about. That's like what they're showing here is that there's a lot of, you know, callbacks to a Jeffrey Dahmer, to a Karla Homolka, like these serial killers who knew that like they could get away with these things because these people weren't being looked for, essentially, you know, and like and essentially like the methods that they're also like taking on are very similar to what she's pulling off, you know, like they're drawing from all sorts of like real life horrible situations. And it's so fucking perfectly melded in this movie.
It's very creative.
So good.
So she's supposed to pour this hot water in this tiny hole in his forehead.
We tried to escape.
She's like,
we were like something more palatable. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Let's just talk about Jeffrey for a while. She's trying to, she's really nervous about trying to do it right, and she pours the hot water on her father's arm. And he's like, ah! And she's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, you've got to give it a bigger tip. Which is something that Clifton and I say to each other all the time. It's just there are a lot of lines from this movie that have made it into our lexicon, and that's one of them. Anytime we're pouring something, we're just like, you gotta give it a bigger tip.
That's hilarious.
That's fucking amazing.
And she's really nervous about it, and she's like, sorry, Dad. And she's trying to do it, and then she's like, the hole's too small, can you please make it bigger? And he's like exasperated with her. Like the father-daughter dynamic comes back through, and Brent is just like sitting there in a headlock, and he's like, am I relieved that I'm not gonna get the hot water in my head right now, or that they're gonna make the hole bigger? Like, which is worse?
Yeah, he's so fucked up. His screams and gurgles in throughout the whole movie, but in this scene especially,
it's a amazing performance.
I would not be surprised to learn that this man has a fucking band. It would not surprise me that he's a musician of some sort.
Yeah, I think so. We should look that up.
Yeah, if only there was a machine.
We must build it.
So Eric goes back to drilling the hole. He's drilling the hole bigger now.
Fuck, man.
And yeah, there's this sort of like intense shot of Brent who's like, he's just in so much agony and he's just so angry. And he's like, if this is it and I'm going to die, like maybe I should just fight.
Yeah.
And he manages to
go
finally
down swinging shit.
Like I'm gonna take all you bitches out with me.
Fuck yeah.
He finally manages to cut through his ropes and he slashes Eric in the face with the razor. And
it's so metal how he's just like, fuck it, my life is pain now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so Eric falls back and has like a really, really bad cut across his whole face. And he's just like, totally shocked by what's happened. And Lola like stumbles backwards and she's like sort of thrown by her dad no longer being in charge of the situation. Mm-hmm. And Brent takes advantage of the moment to, he leans over and he grabs the drill and he grabs the knife out of his foot. He gets the knives out of his feet. And he's like standing there all stiff and bloody and he has a drill in one hand and a knife in the other. And he's like, fucking let's go. And Eric starts to move in on him and he throws the drill in Eric's face and it just like fucks him up even more. And then he like charges across the room and just stabs Eric in the neck like 15 times. He's like, let's get this done. And then he just leaves the knife sticking out of Eric's neck. And then Lola's like, no, my daddy. And she tackles him. She like jumps on his back and he's like trying to get her off of his back. And he's like falling on the table and like falling on her. And they hit the ground. And she's like trying to strangle him and scratch his eyes out. And he's just like, I'm fucking done with you. And he punches her in the face until she's unconscious. And
oh man, I'd have kept going, but that's just me.
Right? Just like make sure. You gotta double tap.
You gotta triple tap on that one.
And Eric is sort of just standing there with a knife in his neck, just in shock.
Shit's crazy.
And Brent's like, we're done here. And he goes all the way across the room and he pushes Eric into the pit.
That's such a good scene too, because they just fucking swarm him.
Yeah. You see immediately like the grimy, like Gollum looking bodies of all the bunch of naked dudes down there, and they're just like, they close in on him immediately and they just start eating his face.
It's so good.
No time lost because they never got their dinner. She never threw the possum down there.
Yeah.
So they're just waiting for dinner. And here it is.
Here it is.
And they're like,
in a storm.
Yeah. And he's like looking over the edge and Lola has gotten up and she's like grabbed him by the feet and she's like flipping him over the edge into the pit. And he's hanging on the edge as best he can. And she's like trying to smash his fingers with the hammer and he has to let go because he's like done interacting with her. He just falls into the pit and like falls on his back and gets the wind knocked out of him.
Dude, when she went for that hammer, I was like, oh my god, no.
She's such a banshee.
Like, fuck.
Well,
she's vicious.
It's fucked up because it's like, yeah, you don't like to see a man hit a woman, a boy hit a girl, but when he's just like full force punching her in the face, you're just like, yeah,
yeah,
yes, bitch.
You're like, deserved.
She does a great job too. Like the first time he punches her, she's just like sort of like thrown, and then the second time she's unconscious, like lights out. Yeah.
He hit
just,
that button.
The stunts are so good.
Yeah, they're fucking amazing. Well, because even when he falls, when he falls into the pit, he like hits something also. Like he also does, like, it's not just a straight drop, because that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, they're
too.
Clumsy falls that look like they hurt.
They're fucking so scary to watch.
The stunt work is excellent.
When he like realizes, like you realize at the same time as him exactly what's going on, that she's like grabbing him by the ankles and trying to like wheelbarrow him over.
Yeah,
and it's like so funny and so desperate, but like so real.
Mm-hmm. You can imagine like that happening to you and being like, oh fuck, I'm going in. Yeah.
Fuck,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
like you said, it's so clumsy but effective.
Yeah.
like struggling with another person for life or death. It's like it doesn't look elegant. It's just you're doing your best to not get stabbed. Yeah.
God.
So she's on the edge of the pit, and she's like watching these men eat her father's face, and she has like a tantrum. she's like screaming and crying and throwing things in there. Like she throws the hammer, she throws a flashlight, she throws the bucket, and then she's watching and you watch her realize that she can't do anything about it, and she's sort of like, she's just like, Daddy, and then she's like, all right, and she closes the trap door.
The last one that looks up at her, and then you just start tearing her dad apart.
You good? All right, we're good.
So it's like she's just left him there in the dark.
Doesn't she say, though, that she's going to go...
later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're like at a stalemate kind of right now.
Yeah, she just shuts him in there. She's like, well, he's in there at least. And he's like, oh my God, I'm in here with a bunch of monsters. But he has the hammer, so they all like crowd him into a corner, and then he just has to kill them all.
Yeah, he bops one, and then they crowd him, and then when we come back, there's just corpses everywhere. I love it.
He just has to. He has to do what he has to do.
John Wick walked through that motherfucker, bro.
Yeah. And then Jamie brings Mia home after their crazy night, and she's like, so
after that good loving.
Yeah, she's so drunk and she's so high, and she's wearing his jacket, and he's like helping her get up the steps, and Mr. Valentine turns on the light and comes out on the porch, and just like, it's the most heartbreakingly sweet moment, because he was a good prom date. He took care of her, like whatever she needed to feel better, that's what he provided for her. And he got her home safe. And Mr. Valentine, who has lost one of his children, like sees this nice young man like bringing his other child home safe. And he's just like...
safe but very, very tore up.
Yeah. And he's just like, good on you, kid. And Jamie's like... really embarrassed, because he's like, I just fucked this girl, and he's like, he just like shrugs, and he's like, must have danced her off her feet.
Yeah. I should have trusted that you had the dialogue written down.
Of course.
He's just so cute. It's just, I love.
He is. He really
I love his whole subplot so much. And I don't think you see him again. That's it for him.
Yeah, that's it for him. And
that's it.
And then we get like a little more exploration of the Valentines for like a second.
Yeah, because she goes back to her room, and Mr. Valentine goes in to check on her, and she's in her bed, and she's crying, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Why can't you find him?" She's like, "This is the arc where it is made very clear that the reason that she's in such a way, with like she's leaning into this like goth personality, and why she's just drinking and doing all these things that she shouldn't do, is because she just cannot cope with losing her brother."
Yeah. That's why I found it interesting that you find Jamie so sweet, because I was like kind of conflicted, because it's like he doesn't intend to. He's like, oh, I asked the girl of my dreams out, and all this stuff is happening. I can't believe she wants to have sex with me, like all this stuff. But it's like, really...
It's a bit opportunistic, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, obviously he... Well, I mean, maybe he does know, because like they should know in school that Timmy is like missing. You know?
Yeah, he should know.
Yeah, he most likely
But it's
knows.
like, yeah, she's not communicating that she's like, I'm really fucked up over this, to the point that I just want to drink and smoke my feelings away, and that's not doing it. So maybe if you fuck me, that'll do it. Oh, what do you know? That's not doing it either. I'm still just in all this pain. So it's like he has a really good time, but she has a really terrible time, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's definitely, he gets a lot out of it. But like you said, no one asks the super hot girl out and just like the amount of like kindness that he provides to her by just hanging out with her all night, and like whatever she wants to do or doesn't want to do, he's there. And he's not a dangerous person, and just like that's such a gift
exactly
to someone who's in that situation.
And I think that's super valid, and it's like that's why I was like wondering to hear what your take on it was, because I was like a little conflicted where it's like he's a good person, he's definitely not like a bad person, but
he's not malicious,
but it is just a little sad to be like, wow, this was like the worst night for her and the best night for him.
You know? I get the sense that we don't spend any more time with this character, but like the way that he reacts at other people who are staring at them when he's sort of like apologetic or a little embarrassed, like you get the sense that he's done a lot of growing up tonight, and he has a lot to think about, and he will probably not you know, like he'll probably spend more time with her if she'll allow it, and like get to know her better. You know what? That just breaks my heart even more, because if the movie didn't continue on, maybe I could have felt like that for sure happens. But now because of like what's about to happen, I'm like, oh man, I hope that didn't break that apart. I hope he was there to Humpty Dumpty her back together. Because it's about to get worse.
It never stops with these movies. The it gets worse pod.
So Brent is stuck in a pit full of bones. This whole room is full of bones and corpses, and the trapdoor is really high up there, and he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. Meanwhile, Lola goes into Bright Eyes' room, and Bright Eyes is just sitting there, and like you get the sense that like something bad is gonna happen to Bright Eyes. And then there's the part where Valentine checks on Mia, and she's like, why can't you find him anywhere? And then Lola suffocates Bright Eyes with a pillow because no one's there to stop her now. She's always hated her, and this is the only time that she addresses her this way. She says, "Good night, Mummy."
Oh God, dude, that's so
the
dark.
confirmation that she really is his fucking thrall.
And Bright Eyes is also wearing a wedding ring, so we can assume that repairman E. Stone at some point, like probably, you know, as an excuse, as a repairman, got in this woman's house and took a shine to her and just kidnapped her and turned her into this.
Wow, I didn't think that far ahead in terms of it. Like, I just accepted, like, yep, this has been a long time and all those things, but I didn't think far enough to like really. But 100%.
Well, no, like that's what we're saying. Like, there's like that man bites dog thing where it was like Benoit, you know, like introducing that random woman and being like, oh yeah, why is he looks skinny? Like, get him new clothes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like, all that, like, it's
there
the
was
same.
Probably never consent. Mm-hmm. He probably just picked her up and made himself a family.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That poor woman.
Because to these people are tools. Mm-hmm. Like tools and toys, you know, like inanimate objects.
God.
It's really sad.
It is.
It is rough.
It is. So it's like in a way, it's like the one kill in the movie where you're like, yeah, probably for the best. Well, I mean, not the one, but like the one from this team that you're.
From this team.
So this is the point where Holly's lying in bed and she suddenly remembers that Brent told her that Lola Stone asked him to the dance, and she realizes that there might be something to that. And she calls Mr. Valentine, and he's like, "That's a fucking lead. I can work with that." Mm-hmm. And he drives out to the Stone house. And Brent down in the pit can hear the car driving up, and he's like, oh, fuck, someone's here. I might get rescued. And Mr. Valentine is looking through the windows into the house, and he can see a really fucked up sort of scene going on in there.
Real wacky time.
Yeah, the disco ball and the balloons and like a lot of blood on the floor.
Fucking blood everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy.
Blood, always blood.
And it just doesn't look good. And he's like, well, it's time to do my job. And he like knocks a hole in the window and opens the door, and he has his gun ready, and he's just like trying to figure out, it seems like there isn't anyone there. And he's just like, what the fuck happened in here? And Brent is like trying to get attention, and he's like rasping and like trying to yell, and he's like throwing the flashlight at the trap door, and Mr. Valentine can hear him, and he's like, there's a trap door in the
so
floor.
Scary.
And he opens it up, and he can see Brent down there, and Brent can see him, and it's like he's gonna get rescued. And then immediately he's like, oh fuck, look behind you. And Mr. Valentine turns around, and Lola just buries a fucking meat cleaver in his head.
The classic trying too hard to get rescued.
Yeah. And this is a great fall. He gets this thing embedded in his face, and he falls backwards, and he falls.
Oh, this is the one.
This is the one. He falls.
I'm always out of place with these fucking moves. I'm sorry,
okay.
Jesus.
Hey, it washes over.
It's such a.
your brain does what it can to get you through.
Anytime that a movie revisits the same place, there's that chance that you'll get moments mixed up.
It only has like 2 settings too.
Yeah,
this movie.
yeah. But he falls backwards, and he falls half on the edge of the door, and then he just spin falls into the pit.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, that actor, whoever did that stunt. They better have gotten a fat fucking paycheck off of that, because fuck that, dude.
It's just so good.
That is risking your literal life.
Yeah, that's a hardcore stunt.
Fuck.
And Brent is just so horrified by everything that Lola has caused, and he's like, this gotta fucking stop. And he realizes that he has Mr. Valentine's gun, and he grabs the gun and he starts shooting at her, and she runs
well, you gotta
away.
Place those shots better, bro. Come on.
All he manages to do is explode the disco ball, which is super metal.
Let's watch our grouping, all right?
Yeah, and he runs out of bullets immediately.
Yeah, you're gonna do that.
Yeah, and then Lola's like, okay. And she picks up the razor blade necklace, and she puts it on, and she grabs herself a big ass knife and her scrapbook, and she's like, I'm going to your house now. I'm going to stab your mommy in the neck, just like you did to my daddy. And then I'm going to stab Holly in the heart, just like you did to me. And she just fucks off out of there.
Which is just so funny, because it's just like, you never liked him. You do, like,
Yeah, why are you so it's not that deep, bro.
So
she's like mad because he ruined her life because he fought back.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it is too. She's just like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna go take something from you then.
Yeah, which is just like the fact that this is breaking out of this contained environment, and she's just gonna go ruin yet more lives is just. This bitch must be stopped. And she's like, the sun is coming up, and she's just walking across a field with her scrapbook and a knife. She's just out there in the Australian wilderness.
In the middle of the street, right?
She ends up in the middle of the road.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, she either doesn't know how to drive, or she didn't think to take one of the cars that is at the house. And meanwhile, Holly, like, pretty much has the same idea. She's like, I haven't heard... The sun is up now. Like, I haven't heard from Mr. Valentine. Something must be wrong. She's like, she also decides to drive out there and see what's going on. And Lola's just walking down the middle of the road barefoot, and she's singing that stupid fucking song. The little princess song.
Yep.
Can a man just tell me my worth?
And she's all covered in blood. Her nose is all bloody from... He probably broke her nose. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's...
And she's walking, and she notices that Holly's car is coming up behind her in the distance, and she goes and hides.
Like, ducks off. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
This part reminded me of Raw.
Yeah, for sure.
Playing hide and seek on the edge of the road with cars. It's very much that kind of vibe. And then Holly's just driving, and she's like really worried and just like focusing on getting there. And then this fucking scrapbook hits her windshield.
That shit is like a ton of bricks. I was like, what the fuck kind of paper is in that?
And she's like looking out the window, and there's paper falling down everywhere. And she's like, what the fuck is that?
It's all that glitter she packed in there.
Yeah. And then Lola opens the passenger side door, and she's looking
that shit is cool.
She's looking like murder. I think she actually growls.
She might. I like this part because it's like a 70s like hard like push in on the faces, like it's like super exploitation.
Yeah,
like grindhouse.
It definitely has.
Very grindhousey.
It has some comedy to it. And Holly like is like trying to get her head around what this is, and she notices that Lola is wearing the razor blade necklace, and she's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck did you do to him?" And
it's bloody.
Yeah. There's just blood all over her. And both girls are wearing their prom dresses because Holly just went to sleep in hers. And Lola just dives into the car with this big ass knife, and she's like trying to stab Holly in the
shit
face.
Is scary.
Yeah, and just like hand to hand grappling inside this tiny car for dear life. And they end up like falling through the car and out the other side. Onto the ground.
It's so crazy.
And Lola's trying so hard to stab Holly, and Holly kicks her in the face.
It's fucking boots.
Yeah, and she gets up and she runs, and Lola's like, "I'm fucking chasing you." It's just totally, she's out for blood. She's like, "I gotta just kill more people." Meanwhile, Brent has very inventively piled up every single bone in the pit and all of the dead bodies.
That shit's hilarious. I was like, he made a fucking ladder.
He did. He just made a pile. There's a pile of remains.
Oh, man.
And he manages to reach the trapdoor and pull himself out of there.
Because why not?
Yeah. Like, he's got to, like, she said she's going to kill his mom and his girlfriend. And he's like, no. No more.
You could inject my throat with bleach, but this is where I draw the fucking line.
Man's gotta have a code.
Man's gotta have a code.
But it's so good because it's like his call to action, because he's been sort of like, I don't care if I die, like having a really hard time like rising to the occasion of the people in his life.
Yeah.
And now they're in danger, and in spite of like, he could easily be like, I'm so fucking wrecked, and just lay down and wait for someone to save him. But he's like, I have to save their lives. Like, he fully meets that challenge. So he gets in
and then some
Mr. Valentine's cruiser, and he's speeding down this road, and it's probably the road where his dad died. It's probably the same road where they crashed. Yeah. And he is going
it absolutely
140
is.
mile an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
gunning that motherfucker, bro.
And he probably hasn't touched a fucking car since
that happened.
Since the accident. So he's like doing this thing that's super intense for him, and he's just like, I just gotta get there. I gotta get there before she gets there. And Lola's chasing Holly down the road with the knife, and this amazing fucking action shot. Like, they're kind of going up a hill, and just as he tops the top of the hill in the cruiser, and he's going way, way too fast. And the first thing he sees is his own girlfriend running towards him, and he's about to just like repeat everything that's ruined his life.
Yeah.
And he swerves around her, and she like ducks into a ball, and it's just such a cool move the way she like turns to the side.
And
he manages not to hit her, he whips around her, and then he's like looking behind him like, oh my god, and then he fucking decks Lola. She just hits the windshield and goes flying over the top of the car.
Wrecks that woman.
Yeah. And he stops the car, and she's just like, oh fuck. Like, at that speed, there's no way he knew exactly what he did to who.
To who, yeah.
He just happened to not fuck it up.
He just made contact.
Yeah. And he's sitting there, and Holly runs up to get in the cruiser, and she probably thinks Mr. Valentine is in the cruiser, and she opens it up, and Brent is in there, and she, like, screams at how bad he looks.
It's fucking horrifying, yeah.
And then she's just like, there's just like this cathartic crying, and she's just like holding him, and just so relieved that he's alive. She thought for sure he was dead.
Yeah.
This is so good. Yeah. This is so good.
The fucking shock back and forth of like how fucked up they both are.
Yeah. Just the night they've been having. And there's this amazing wide shot of the road,
good.
and the cruiser's just sitting in the road, and you hear
like
just
scraping,
this scraping metal sound, and then Lola drags herself into the frame. She's so far away from the car, and she's just like dragging herself like a fucking zombie.
Her legs are just like pointed up. Like useless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her fucking wrist is like mangled and like hanging by a tendon. It's
I love
fucked,
that we
bro.
all made a note of how good that wide shot was. Like Evelyn mentioned it. You popped off for it, but like it deserves being recognized.
It's a beautiful it's a beautifully composed shot.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And
like
some great comedy relief.
it's the slow like trickle of her coming into the scene. Like
using the knife to pull herself.
It is so fucking funny, dude. It's so good.
And Brent and Holly can hear her coming, and they're just like, oh, fuck no.
Fucking whip back.
Yeah, and he puts the car in reverse. And there's just this
double tap. You got to double tap.
Long, slow zoom in on Lola, like in the road.
That's another slow-mo one, right?
Yeah, she's like propped up on her elbows, and she's just like watching the car reverse towards her, and you're just zooming in like forever on like onto her eyes, and you can just hear her breathing. It's like breathing and heartbeat, and it's a weird. It sort of feels like, you know how in movies they sort of like take a moment to humanize the monster. Like the monster has to die, but
somehow,
they're like, but don't you feel a little bit bad?
Yeah.
And it seems like they're doing that with her because they're like spending a lot of time showing her in her last moment.
Like that face that she's making, just like the defeated look.
Yeah, she's sort of wide-eyed, like fully staring down her death. And then, then a really quick shot of the bumper just smacking her head, probably off.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I laughed so hard.
Yeah,
I laughed so fucking hard at that.
End credits.
Yeah, they're like, "Yep, she gone.
She ain't with us." No,
you know what? It's funny because you're right. There is like that element to it, but I was mostly just thinking of it as like an ironic, like callous callback to how she was standing behind a car that he was in the trunk of previously, going
having sex.
No, but like having putting her head to his chest when they were like pulling him out, and then boom. So like I was just thinking of it like on that level as a parallel to that of like now we're focusing on her heartbeat and how scary that is for her. And how it's like, she's humanized in this moment. She's such a monster, but like now she has to experience a human emotion, and it's so bad for her. It's such a bad time.
I really like that.
She's like, no, you can't. Things aren't supposed to be scary for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, man. That's such a good fucking catch. I love that read on it, by the way.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I really like what Evelyn said, too, though, because I think there is that level of just, like, little girl, monster, poor little victim that's just, like, a doll that her father shaped. No, she got a lot of blood on her hands. Bonk.
Yeah, she gotta go.
She gotta go.
And then the final scene is Holly and Brent pulling up at his house and getting out of the cruiser, and his mom is so relieved to see them, and she runs out and she hugs Brent, and she like drags Holly into the hug also. She just holds these two kids, and she's just like, you can tell that something has snapped back into place for her, and she's just so relieved that she has them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the film.
Oh, it's... Man, that was one fucking wild ride.
It's a tight film. It's solid.
Absolutely adore this fucking movie, man. It's so it again, like the cringe factor for being like, I don't know how much more of this I can fucking watch, just cranks up immediately to 11, and then you're just like, all right, let's just keep it going.
It just stays there.
Just keep it going at 11, man.
Yeah.
It is fucking crazy.
I love that it can do that and just be. It finds a way to be funny, but not too funny.
No, it's grounded. Yeah, it's grounded for sure. But like these fantastical elements of it are what make it funny. That's what makes it humorous. It's just like, yeah, this is a real fucked up and wacky situation, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and they're just such interesting villains. They're just so unique.
Yeah, their motivations are very fucking strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
But I love that there's almost none, though, you know, there's not really motivations. They're just kind of, this is what they're doing.
This is what they like to do.
This is what they do.
Yeah. They do it because he used to do it alone, and now this is his family life.
You know, this one, honestly, like, there's some weird parallel to be drawn to Barbarian here.
Yeah, it's
you know,
got
like,
some similarities.
Yeah, like basement dwelling creatures and such, you know, but based in reality with
some
like serial
unsavory
killers,
kidnapping traditions.
We're by the way, we're getting to Barbarian eventually. That's
gonna happen.
We collectively, that was just one of the fucking movies that took us all by storm this year. Besides Nope, obviously.
Yeah.
Might reign supreme for this podcast.
Nope is king.
But,
which around here we call yup.
Yup.
That's going to be a yup for me, dog.
It's going to be a yup. But yeah, no, I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
That's
that was a lot.
It was a lot. This was one that I was very excited to get to because A, I knew it was gonna be fun, but I was like, B, there's also a lot going on here that we're gonna talk about. Like,
there's a lot of nuance. I didn't want to leave anything out.
Absolutely. It's one of the more creative, like, torture films I can say I've seen in a minute.
It's sort of gleeful. And there's so much pink glitter.
It's funny because it's like, obviously, not that I would doubt like Evelyn's pick, but for a little bit I was like, okay, I wonder like how brutal it's gonna get, how
it seems a little soft.
No,
and it's got so much comedy, but then it really it like flips the like percentages in the formula as it goes. It starts off funnier and then it ends darker, but it has that like through line of like the diminishing returns on the humor that are like timed really well, like very Edgar Wright.
Yeah, exactly.
It has excellent editing.
Yeah,
very good timing.
I think all the like, that's what I was saying. It feels like these might be their first movies, like all of their first film. But I hope it's not their last. I really hope this is a fucking phenomenal cast.
For sure. Yeah, the casting was... I'm just blown away by this selection of characters.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
So I looked it up, and Xavier Samuel was in a band that was formerly called... it used to be called Degrees of... I gotta scroll down. God damn it. I clicked on the wrong one. It's called Hiatus, and it's spelled Hyatus.
Oh, hell yeah.
It used to be called Degrees of Freedom.
Oh, that's
Nice.
fucking great, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. He just screams musician. Like, that boy has control over his voice, for sure.
Yeah, he
knows what he's doing.
sang and he plays guitar.
Of course he fucking did. Of course he did.
He said he's also in Twilight Eclipse, and there's like...
What?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there's
we can forgive it. He needed a paycheck.
I need to see that.
There's just like an interview about the new Twilight hunk, Xavier Samuel. And how he told how he and Robert Pattinson have formed the world's hottest guitar band.
No, were they in a band
Speaking
together?
about jamming with Pattinson, Samuel said, "We do play together when we get the chance, especially Jackson and Rob Pattinson. They play the guitar, but we're not going to start a boy band or anything like that."
Yeah, he calls him Bobby.
Growing up, that's so funny. Growing up in Adelaide, Samuel sang with local band Hiatus, then called Degrees of Freedom. But he now wants to concentrate on acting, saying, "I don't have any aspirations of becoming a musician or a rock star or anything like that. But I take the guitar with me because it helps me wind down."
All right.
So yeah, all right.
And it did.
That's enough.
It did say he brings his guitar on set with him everywhere.
On set, I would imagine. Yeah, he again seems like that type of.
Hey Xavier, put the guitar down. It's not in this scene.
He looks terrible as a Twilight vampire.
Oh
it's
my
not
God.
a good look for him.
That's hilarious, dude. So, that being said, what are we rating this bitch?
Well, I'm giving it a 5 out of 6. It's not a perfect movie, but damn near.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's near and dear to my heart. I'm just like, it's one of my old favorites, and I'm just never gonna not love this movie.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I would also give it a 5 out of 6, but holy shit, you weren't kidding. This is a terrible look for this dude.
Yeah, it's
and
not.
I'm rating him a 0. I don't know what the fuck.
It's not the way for him.
He looks good in this movie. He looks horrible as a Twilight.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, he looks
dude.
awesome in The Loved Ones.
That's so funny. I would give. I mean, you know what? I went back and forth on it, but yeah, there were little, obviously little things, little nitpicking things that prevented it from being perfect. But overall, as a first film for the director, like, this is some solid ass shit.
This is a well-made film.
This is a fucking. I mean, again, it's harrowing to think about. It's fucking terrifying to watch as well. It's fucking. They do an excellent job with those fucking effects.
Great gore, yeah.
Amazing gore. It's so good.
Great stunts.
And the stunts, that's what I'm saying. Like, every single bit, they really fucking went all out and brought it. Like, little details, like like you were talking about, like the feet in the glitter when he's in the chair. Like, I wouldn't think to fucking show that, but like, now that I've seen it, that's fucked up.
It's
like,
so fucked up.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, they don't waste any opportunities to make you that much more uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
visceral for like being not that visceral. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Like I would.
They get the most out of it.
It's kind of like Exorcist 3, where it's like you don't feel like it's that gory, but there was like a lot of stuff that we saw, but then there was also a lot of stuff that was alluded to, but it feels like the stuff that was alluded to was more fucked up. Like,
worse.
Like, thinking about how long he's been with Bright Eyes is like way more fucked up to me than him fighting zombies in the basement, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the being the
implication.
The implication. It's about the implication.
We got 2 in this one. We're making up for last time. Gail the snail with the implication. Hey, Dennis.
Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode so far. This was this was a fucking great time. I had a fucking great time with this.
Yeah.
I really
fun.
enjoyed it. So before we close it out, let me ask you, did y'all go to school dances, prom, anything?
I thought this might be your question, and I was like almost prepared for it, but no, I didn't. I just didn't. I don't know. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't something I was A, excited about, and B, I just didn't like. We spent enough money. I went to private school. all 13 years. And we spent enough money on those fucking school without having to pay extra. They made you buy like the tickets to it.
Pay to
they
play.
Made you, yeah, exactly. All the pay to play bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, so
you have to rent clothes.
I was like, yeah, no, I'm not about it. So fuck it. And I was like,
what if I shit in these? Like, they're not going to take them back. It's a very real danger.
What then, you piece of shit?
And tonight, it's likely.
Yeah, no. So I never went, but I didn't really feel like I was missing a whole lot. No, I wasn't drinking or anything back then either, so I wouldn't have had, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Evelyn, you said no.
Oh, yeah, I went to some of the dances, but, like, I was not anywhere close to, you know, a cool kid. Not that that's the only thing, cool or not cool, but, like, I just, like, such a pathetic level of awkward that, and I didn't like dancing, and I still don't like dancing in front of people. It's just, like, there was just no reason for me to be there.
Look, you get enough substances in me, and I'm liable to just go off. So
It's just like all things that make me uncomfortable, and I was forcing myself to go there so that like maybe I could see someone there that I had a crush on, or just be part of the community thing. But it was mostly just a really uncomfortable time. So not fun.
Yeah, I feel that. I went to a couple and I didn't like them. One time, I think when I was like a freshman, this girl wanted to go to homecoming with me, but then she was like, so you're going to wear a tie that matches with my dress, right? And I was just, I don't know, I was just like some 14-year-old fucking douchebag. So I was just like, no, I don't want to wear a tie, so I'm not going to wear one. And then it was like a whole big thing, and she made like a big issue of it, so I was just like, fuck it, I'm just not gonna go then. Like, this isn't worth my.
You're a goddamn hero.
Like, this isn't worth my goddamn time.
You did the right thing.
Flash forward.
Fuck yeah,
Flash
dude.
forward to now. I wear a suit and tie every day for work. When I get home, Amanda's like, hooey. So she's worth it. She can enjoy that. But when
that's something you could do for her.
she's worth the effort. God, it takes so much fucking time to get into comfortable clothes when I get home. I need an Iron Man like the suit. You know, it's just robot arms to undress me.
So yeah, with that being said, I mean, we're gonna be back next week with a really fun one. This was Canadian.
Yes, weirdly enough.
We're going to Canada.
Layers, dude, layers.
Yeah, this is gonna be a really fun one. I have never seen this. We've never seen this actually. Evelyn and I, we're completely blind in this one. And this was a pretty deep dig to find this one too. Like, sorry, but this is another one you guys aren't going to be able to watch.
I mean, if you sail the 7 seas, you'll probably be able to find it. But yeah, I had a friend who found it that way and sent it to me because a DVD is like $150. This is just one of those weird,
crazy, dude.
One of those weird covers you walk by in like the rental place when you're a kid, and you're like, I don't know what that is, but it's kind of freaking me out. And then one day you walk up to it and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna rent this.
I got my big boy pants on.
I've just been fascinated by this for so long, and so it's one that me and my sister like watched a few times together when we were young. So when we started doing this, she was like, "You have to do slashers," and I was like, "I will. I definitely will."
That's funny. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fuck it. Well, you know what? For family, we can do that.
A Canadian film about a fictional Japanese game show.
It's so fucking wild.
In which the episode we see stars exclusively Americans.
Oh my god!
That's what we like.
Of course.
I love.
It's familiar, damn it.
I love to get shat on by other countries. It's exactly what we deserve.
Take us down a peg, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys, are interested in that, again, sail the 7 seas and get ready for next week.
Yo ho.
God damn it.
It's off to work we go.
So yeah, if you guys would be so kind as to rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice, wherever you're listening to this right now, go ahead and drop 5 stars. A review you can email us at the devilsworkpod@gmail.com. We have it set up for you guys to just kind of give some feedback. If you guys enjoyed a movie that you found through us, through the show, or even recommendations that you guys have.
Or if you think any of us are handsome.
Speak up.
Aww. Yeah, let us know.
Let us know. Aww. Don't keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are also on Facebook at the Devil's Work Podcast and on Instagram at the Devil's Work Pod. Be sure to follow along, join in on the fun, man. We love hearing from you guys. We get great, recommendations for the pod. So it's so much fun to keep ruining lives like we do,
You know what? I'm realizing suddenly this movie was also very much about consent.
True.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah. And also about family.
Yeah, totally. It's always about family. It's not always about consent. We don't have time to get into it, but it's there. So go back and watch it again.
So go back and watch it.
It's a theme.
You do your own homework, damn it. Yeah. All right, you guys, we will be back next week or in 2 weeks, I guess. Whenever. Time isn't real.
We'll be back.
And we'll be back. And you'll know about
it. When we're back, we'll be back with a hell of a theme song. You guys are going to love it.
We're going to be back and we're going to make it your problem.
It's your fault. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Be safe. I don't know. Ask her out to prom. Ask him out to prom.
Yeah.
But
if they say no, it's
leave
fine.
it at that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go home, get drunk, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give yourself a wristy.
Yeah. Honestly, no one does it better.
All right. Happy New Year.